Hey, yes, coming to you live and direct. It's your girl, Miss Ride or Die. What are we doing? I see the room is getting filled up. Yes, we're going to have a great day today. We're going to see what we're going to be doing up in here today. Maybe a little controversy today. What do y'all think? Maybe a little controversy today. I'm coming to you with some of Tony T's videos, and I just had to put that picture up there like, what the fuck? What bullshit is this? I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. But now I'm going to watch it live with you guys. And we're going to see what happened. Like, what's going on? What's good? You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't understand all of the controversy, but I was like, let me watch it again and see if I can understand exactly who said what and what was being said. All right, you guys, so I can understand that. Now, as you guys know, I made you guys some mods. I made some new mods in the chat. And I want to tell each and every one of y'all, thank you so much. I'm almost there. This will be my third time hitting 3,000. YouTube told me I would have been almost 5,000 by now, but YouTube told me, I had a lot of non-responding people or whatever have you. So some crap. They gave me a whole story about robots and some old crap. I'm like, whatever. But I'm hitting that 3,000 again, and I always did my subscribers organically. I always go into the chats and talk and play or whatever. Oh, you're welcome, sweetie. So this is what I do. And, the mods that I have are also Tony T mods. So we are a big family. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Yeah, so I'm at 2,961, I think. So you guys share me out. You guys know I do other things. I do the couponing. I do the I don't know if y'all, I do a lot of different things. I do a lot of learning lessons. I do some learning material and stuff, about relationships. We hear stories. I do a lot of things. I do my cooking. That's what I'm really famous for here on YouTube, is for my cooking and stuff. Thanks in advance. Thank you for the cooking. And I research a lot of things that's going on in our world. I do the moon watching, the sun, the things that's going on in the world that, like, what is that about? I try not to do, I've been banned from doing politics and religion. YouTube has banned me quite a few times. Matter of fact, quite a few of my videos are banned worldwide. I guess they didn't want to hear the truth. Hey, Nicole, listen. I done made sure I ate I eat one meal a day. So I eat my breakfast, lunch, and dinner at one time. I had roll-ups today, okay? I would like to keep that on my stomach today, okay? Happy Friday. I would like to keep my roll-ups that I made sandwiches in my stomach today, because I'm not going to be doing all that laughing and popsicle tonight with you, for sure. All right, you guys. So thank you guys for coming. I'm getting ready to start it up. And, I will be dropping my links in the chat for the couponing for the apps. And we're going to go from there. I will be in the chat talking to you guys as well and laughing like we always do. Okay? Okay. And if anybody see any of these two people that's coming up talking in the chat, please highlight my name so I can add them, because I am going to be putting in my link so we can talk about it. No, over here is the bunker. Over here is called the bunker. Yeah, the bunker. All right, let me see where we're going to start at with this. I want to thank much love to Miss Tony T and Sugar Love. Peace and love, you guys. Peace and love. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Monique. Thanks for coming by. Hey, Love. Hey, Spice. What? No one here. I like the way that sound. No one here. Y'all got jokes. No one here. Okay, we're gonna start. And this is also Miss Boss Lady. And we're gonna have
Well, I'll
Kev.
be in the chat, family.
Oh, and we're gonna have Kev, and we're gonna have Alien Blood. So if them guys come in, I would like for you to highlight my name so I can talk to them. Thank you.
Yeah, we waiting. We ready to come on, man.
Yeah, we waiting.
3,000 giveaway.
3,000 subscribers now.
3,000 subscribers giveaway. At from 2004 Facebook. She is so happy for me every day. When you gonna do another one? Nope, one per.
Hey, L House. No, it's gone now. The echo's gone. Everybody say something.
Okay, move around.
In the chat, it's not here, it's in the chat. When you own to take care of you and make sure you're good when you're not able to do it.
I wish I could read that. See what's
Now,
saying.
I get dragged. I can't. I'm gonna see if I can open it up. Yes, I could. So let me. I don't know if I can rewind it so you can see. Okay, now you see. You can see. Okay. Can you see it?
My
better?
bad, I was muted. Yeah, I see it. Go back. Yeah, keep going a little bit. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Right. Okay. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, and it's fire.
See, they thought we was live. That's what it was. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. So first captain get dragged. But it gets better with Kev. We're going to show in a couple of seconds. I hate when I open. Hopefully, I'm able to close it back up. Now, next thing you know, I start getting dragged. And then she starts off with, I'm good where I am. And I can honestly say I love everybody. You don't have to love me, okay? Then she's with exactly. That's why I believe in love. Okay. And then it's your problem if you can't love nobody. I don't have time for that. Then it's thank God I have a real job and YouTube don't support my life. Right.
Yo, my mom's had to like call your father.
Yeah.
Whoever said we didn't support older people.
I was still in the closet, kind of knocked out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Check in.
Okay, this is where I wanted to start, you guys. Sorry about that.
We in.
Come on, check in.
African American makes me sick, but then you need to leave America because you are American.
I heard a conversation today and it made me sick.
Oh wow.
I'm sick and tired of African.
You talking about me, y'all, so y'all know.
Because in my mind,
okay, we all quiet.
Too much validation.
It's Kevin's job.
You want too much confirmation. You niggas are beneath your own selves. I'm going straight in. I heard a conversation today, and this man was just basically saying, I go to the roots of my family, and that's all I need to look at. When I go to my heritage, like when I go to my background with my forefathers, where they was buried at, where they signed certain affidavits, and they built certain houses. I said, that's cool, that's respectable. You would want someone to, follow their family's history. That's cool. But to say that's all you need to look at, you see, that's what really made me sick. Because at this point, I'm starting to really realize the white man has won. And we going straight in. The white man has won because we have niggas that can blatantly say all you need to study is the 3 or 4 generations they know of. I'm gonna tell you exactly why the white man won. Give me a second.
The white man won. I'm interested to hear this point
You
of
gotta think
view.
about the lie you finna tell.
This has to be talked about. We're gonna talk about it today. Oh yeah. We're gonna talk about it today. Oh yeah. Yep.
Talk about it, alien. You
You
said the white
niggas
man done already won. Get your goofy ass out of here.
Leave it to Kev.
are so childish. You see, when I think about a black man in America, I think about a child. And I'm gonna go a little deep on you niggas today. Because this is what you deserve. This is exactly what you deserve. When I hear about niggas talking about ancestry and all these different, platforms to see your lineage and your heritage, I laugh at these Negroes. See, I want it to be a point in African history where all Africans can come together. Because I feel like we at a scale where Africans don't know what African Americans is about, and African Americans really don't know what Africa is about. And I feel like it's only.
I'm going to pause that right there because I'm going to commentate on what he's saying. I know quite a few African people. They do not consider themselves African American because they live here. I know, and the couple of Africans that I did ask, I asked them questions about like, did y'all know about slavery in the United States? They said no. They said they didn't know about the slavery. Quite a few of them said that. And then I asked another one, I said, how are you able to come here to the United States and make a business? Because quite all of them have their own businesses. They told me that when they come here to the United States, they get 2 weeks of training. They go to a place, them and their family, and they get 2 weeks of training. And main part of their training is how to adapt to America. And also one of the things she told me, she said, for them not to get intertwined with the black people of America. You can do business with them, but you cannot get into relationships or intertwine with them because they will revoke their visa and send them back home. So I was like, I couldn't understand why would they say that. I could not understand why would they say that. Why would they say that to the people that's African, not to intertwine with the black people in America? And I'll explain more to you about that later on in the live.
It's only going to get worse and worse because the white man has made a plan so strategic that all black people could do now is look at their grandmothers or great grandmothers or great great grandfathers and decide where they come from that. That's how strategic the white man plan has been. That's why when I heard the man talk about, oh, all I, basically have to do is, go to my great great grandfather's burial site. I'm like, what? First of all, your great great grandmother or your great great grandfather could have been arguably raped into the family. And that's my argument. So when you go to all these people, these different people that you find out on Ancestry and all these burial sites that you go to for your 3 or 4 generations, right? Worth of, searching of history. How do you literally know that family member was not raped into the family? And this is where we have to go deep. We have to go deep here. I want to know how you don't know. And this is why this conversation is very, very heavy. Because when you sit down and you really think about it, a lot of people come to the conclusion that you can go over those bases where it's just simply, oh, I figured this out, and I could go off of this notion. But that's the sad part. That's the saddest part of this conversation, is that a man can literally sit up there and say, we don't have to worry about what we was a million years ago. We don't have to worry about what we was a billion years ago. And this is where the conversation goes for me. Because I know my family or whoever I'm connected to didn't just start 200 or 300 years ago. What I'm connected to did not start 400 years ago. And I may change the name of the video to that. What I come from did not start 400 years ago. That's a fact. I wasn't made yesterday. I was not made yesterday.
Okay. So he's saying, what is he saying? What exactly is he saying? That he was not made by yesterday. So his family, he can go back 500 years, 1,000 years in his family heritage. Not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people can do that. Hi, Abo. Hi, Abo. So you might be somebody I want to talk to, Abo, because we're trying to figure out what is the difference. Why do we feel different from the native born Africans compared to the black Africans in the United States? I don't know about the rest of the other countries. He's an Indian. Yeah. So yeah, I can only trace back with accuracy 700 years, because I did talk to my grandmother. Okay, I did talk to my grandmother, and my grandmother told me about her mother and her grandmother. Oh, root words. You play too much. You play too much. That's my guy there, root words. Welcome, root words, you guys. This new name is Abo Indian, Mr. African versus Black Amour. Black Amour. Good way, good way. You can only go back to 1800s. But I put that link in there. If you want to pop up and talk about it, we're willing to listen. We're willing to listen because I know you are authentic. I know you are. I keep seeing King Kev's name. I don't see him nowhere. Oh, now I see him over here. King Kev, you really gotta fix this. I keep dropping my link. I don't know if you can see it. You really gotta fix this. Why I can't see you on my main page? What is going on? I have to be over there and look at what's the name page. Let me see if I can. I can't even copy it. Oh, jeez. I can't even copy it. I support you from the chat. When I get home, I will. And thank you. No problem. No problem. You guys want to hear about some authentic stuff? You know, go check out Abo as well. I don't know if anybody can repost the link. I don't know. Can one of my mods try to repost the link for the StreamYard? Or do I have to type it in? Okay, I'm gonna let y'all listen to some and then I'll type it in. Y'all, I'll type it in. This is some more.
Dummy. Hit the like button, man. And this is something we have to acknowledge. We must teach this to our kids because there's so much knowledge, so much information, and education out now. Things can get blurry in a second. Like, share, subscribe, man. It makes me mad and it really makes me sick, when I hear some of these people talk about, just Black history. Because I feel like Black history is the most misunderstood subject of all time, if not the most. It's probably the most misunderstood. And it's something that we have to acknowledge every day that we live, every day that we breathe. Because it is a systematic plan to block and manipulate Black history. It is a systematic plan to interrupt Black history. And the more we know these things, the more we get clarification on what we're doing and what's happening. Always remember, as a Black man, you are chosen. As a Black woman, you are chosen. And we're still coming to the conclusion of why you are chosen. But with that being said, man, like, share, subscribe, man. We out of there. I just had to drop this quick little bomb because I felt like a lot of people misinterpret things in history.
I definitely agree. I agree with you, Abo.
Disagree, but we have to understand that. We have to like, share, subscribe to get more information, and more importantly,
And let's just keep this about the information. We ain't got to do the name calling unless he's here. He's not here. Kevin, the floor is all yours.
I'm calling him names because I want his ignorant, slow ass to come over here.
Oh my!
Bring your dumb ass over here, alien blood. Don't do no subs, bro. If you say my name, nigga, it's King Kev. King Kev said it. And if you so disgusted and you so sick and you feel like you got something to argue about and you got points to stand on, bring your ass over here. Don't sit in the bushes like you did yesterday. See, you a bush baby. You ain't got nothing to talk about. You go over there with you and your mother and your little sister watching your live because it was only 3 people total. And 2 of them was Tony commenting. So I don't know who you think you're reaching, but come on over here. I'll give you all the exposure you want. Bring your ass over here. You know the channel, obviously. You watch, obviously. But obviously, you're not intelligent enough to comprehend what I was saying to you. So maybe I could break it down and explain it like I explained it to a 6-year-old. Because what you said and what I said are two different things. And I want you to tell me, you said you're alien, so that already tells me where your mindset is at. Tell me where your aliens, tell me where your aliens, tell me where your ancestors were 1,000 years ago. You said that's important, it's 2 million years ago. And tell me where they raped and tell me where they're from. If you can't tell me either one of those things, then shut your ass up, because everything you just tried to say against what I was speaking about, that you're in total contradiction of yourself. If you can't tell me where, I can tell you where my ancestors are from. You can't tell me where yours are from. You can make some shit up and say they from, you know, the planet Kai or from the ninth, you know, solar galaxy or whatever you weirdos be saying. Bring your ass over here and I'll give you whatever you want, sir. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. But don't sit in the bushes and talk shit about people who really actually know what they're talking about, bro.
He said, I'm gonna give it to you.
Because you can't trace your heritage nowhere. You said it goes beyond 4 generations, right? Okay, so like I said, I can tell you where my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother were born. And I can tell you all of our history from that point forward.
We love King Kev. We love King Kev. That rich, deep baritone voice of his is so powerful. And also, he's so full of knowledge. And that's one of the awesome things about him.
Before them, I don't know, because all those people were dead. And they didn't leave any written record. Now, you tell me where your people are from, and you tell me where they were 1,000 years ago. You tell me where they were 300 years ago. And I guarantee you don't know. You may not know your daddy, so your bloodline may stop at you. Dummy. See, that's what's wrong with a lot of you cats. You think, oh, it don't. It does matter if you have a relationship with your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather. Who's gonna teach me more? Those 3 men or some motherfuckers that wrote a book about some people that were here 2 million years ago? Dummy. And I'm using that word because that's the word you use referring to an intelligent black man. Say king before you say anything addressing me, dummy. So, like I said, you probably in the bushes right now, but I know you ain't got the nuts to come up here and speak to me. But unless you can address me through this platform, keep my name out your mouth. Keep my subject matter out of your mouth, because you don't know what you're talking about, obviously. Obviously, you don't know what you're talking about, because you can't tell me where your ancestors was from. And then you saying, well, how do I know that, you know, my great-grandparents weren't products of rape? Because they know their parents stupid. Now, how do I know you weren't a product of race? You high yellow, judging from your if that's you, your alien looking ass on your avatar there, on your picture. So who got more white in there? Who should be talking about rape of our people? Me or you? Because you lighter than I am. So let's start right there. And then tell me where your people were. I'll tell you exactly where mine were and where they came from and what they did. I guarantee you can't tell me. But do your research and get your shit up before you come fucking with me, because I'm a real one. I ain't got to speak too much on it. So whenever you ready, come on up. And I'm saying what I'm saying to you now in this way because of the way you address me without ever trying to have a dialogue with me first, dummy. But when you come up, I'll be respectful. I don't do no whole lot of cursing and loud talking. You can speak your piece and I can speak my piece. And we'll let the chat judge and see whose side of the debate was stronger, who was more factual. And, you know, you can bring your 2 followers over too, and they can be in on the discussion. But nobody believes you, bro. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody. You have 2 subscribers. 2, bro. Who you think is listening to you? And I know people are listening to me because your dumb ass tried to jump out the window. But you in the bushes listening. Why weren't you man enough to get in the chat and speak your piece? Because you know we dropped that link. Tony dropped that link.
Not that day. We bruising.
No, I'm just saying, but you know you dropped the link.
Yeah.
So if you want to come up, we just didn't happen to be there that day. Right. But if you want to come up,
welcome King Kev to the stream. King Kev. Him and his technical difficulties. King.
Hey, Miss Rod, Hey, give me 10 seconds. I'm trying to get my devices and sound together. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
We'll drop the link right now. I promise you. I got time. I got time tonight. I ain't got nothing else to do but blow this shots out that's rolled up. So if you want to come up tonight, if not, if you catch the replay and you hear and you feel disgusted again, then bring your dumb ass over here, and I'll give you exactly what you want. Because I guarantee that'll be the last time you mention my name out your mouth, or I'm gonna embarrass you. And I'm talking about embarrass you, internet wide, bro. Not just on this platform. I embarrass your ass internet wide. So keep a king name out your mouth, bro, unless you address me proper. Goofy ass dude. I don't even understand what your point was. What was you so disgusted about that? I said that you can't worry about what happened 2 million years ago. Okay, well, so let's say you're worried about it. So what have you done based on what you learned 2 million years ago that's affecting today? I'll wait. Now I can tell you what I've done because of my history, my oral history from my direct ancestors that I can trace back for at least the last 200 years. And I can tell you how that affected me because I had a personal relationship with those people. And because of what they did and what they taught me, it shaped me as a man and guided what I did in my life and how I did what I did. So I can tell you and show you direct results of me knowing my ancestors. I ain't got to go back no further than that. Like I said, I'll wait as long as you need me to tell me. And first of all, you don't know who your ancestors are or where they're from. You're relying either on a test, a test by Ancestry.com, right? Or you're relying on a book somebody like, Malachi Z. York wrote, or some other nut-ass dude that wrote some book and telling you about all kind of crazy shit that they have no idea whether it's true or not. Just keep it a buck. Anybody writing about something that happened 1,000,000 years ago is speculation.
And on that note, we're going to talk about it because our history is so confusing. It's at Ancestry.com. Click. You know what? Roots, you play too much. Our Black history is so confusing. I'm still confused to today because no matter how much research I do on it and how much I read and the books that I have, you guys also need to get a good book list and buy some books. I mean, I've learned so much. I got a couple of books that The Pale White Horse, that's another one of the books. I did a couple of videos on the books and stuff. And some other books that I have read besides The Art of War, okay, and the 48 Laws. Try to live my life accordingly. But we get confused, where I get confused at. Now, for us to be Black scholars, teachers, scientists, entrepreneurs, have colleges and stuff, when did that happen? Before slavery or after slavery? Because if slavery was mainly down in the South. Up north was where they had their freedom. So they was doctors, teachers, or entrepreneurs, all of this up north and not down south. That's where I kind of get confused at, because as the history shows us, the inventors and the age and all the stuff that the inventors did, they're inventing for today that we still use today. How is it that slavery was so long and it took so long? How long did slavery really last? I have all these questions, and I be looking to some videos of other people who are scholars, like the Andersons and stuff like that. I've been looking to find out, where is this written? Where is this truth written? Because after they put out there that Christopher Columbus, who we all know, did not discover America, it seemed like a lot of our history been wiped out. A lot of our history has been wiped out. There's no longer notebooks and books in school. There's no more social study books. There's no more books for our children to actually learn. We have to be our children's teacher so they can learn their culture, so they can learn our history as an individual family. As an individual family. And I'm
You
saying
just
that to say that's how I feel about how the history is working. Yes, King.
I'm sorry for interrupting, Miss Wright. That was exactly my point I was trying to express. You just articulated everything that I was trying to say. While you just said you put it perfectly, because if we found out that everything we learned in our textbooks in elementary school, from Christopher Columbus discovering America to everything else, then how can you go back to that time, which you have no idea about, and try to draw off of your family lineage? There's no way that that's possible. But you do have people that that they can tell you certain stories. So wouldn't it be logical? And again, he started off his whole premise by saying, I said we should forget about that. But if you go back to the original response that I said there's nothing wrong with learning about ancient history. But as it applies to our lives today, we have no connections to those people because they are so far removed from us. That's all that I said. And I think his point, he was trying to put apples and oranges in the same basket, and it doesn't go, because you highlight your direct ancestors right now over the last 2 or 3 generations that you're familiar with. That's not to say that you disregard the lineage before them. That's not saying that at all. But it is fair to say, he made the comment too, which was, I thought, totally, it showed me his thought process. He said, well, he goes back 2 or 3 generations. This is him talking about me. Well, how does he know, his grandmother didn't, become part of his family as a victim of the R word? Okay, so if I don't know that 200 years ago, then how do you know that 1 million years ago that our people weren't our ancestors due to interbreeding and the R word? So what does that really have to do, again, with our bloodline and what we can relate to? These are the type of individuals, I think, in our community that we have to be leery of, because, I don't think he's lived long enough. I don't think he's old enough to have read the things that you and I have read. Like, we read books. They go to Amazon audio books, and or they get snippets of information off Google. We used to have to read books, just like you said, In Search of a Pale White Horse, or Beware of the Pale White Horse. That's a very important book for our culture. But I could probably tell you 90% of Black people that I've ever run into have never read the book, much less heard of it. And all they're concerned with, like you said, is the 48 Laws of Power and the Art of War, because they tell Black people that's our Bible to survival.
And you know what? Because you
go ahead.
That book, I still got the original book. One of my senior ladies, one of my old senior citizens, I'm always with. I took care of a senior citizen book building in the Bronx. It was my birthday, and she said, "I want to buy you a book for your birthday." I was like, "No, you got to buy me a book. I'm good. I'm good." She said, "No, I want you to take me to 3rd Avenue in the Bronx." And I was like, "I can't take you now. I'm at work." She said, "Well, when you get off of work, I know people sell books out there that's out there. I saw a book I wanted you to have." Sure enough, after work, I put it in my car, but I was scared. I put it in my car, and we went to 3rd Avenue, and parked the car, and we walked up and down for a minute. And she bought me a book. She said, "This book I want you to have." And the book was The 48 Laws of Power, my right-hand of God, over 27 years ago. And I still got the book. With her inscription in it. She passed now, but she wrote to Kelly, love so and so. So I still got that book, and I read it. My dogs try to get at it in the bathrooms, but I still got that book. I bought another one. I bought that book for a couple of other people as gifts. But the knowledge that this older lady gave me, and she died at 90 something years old, the knowledge of what she gave me,
That's what I was talking about, Miss Wright. That's priceless. You can read a book from a perspective, and I'm a book reader. But like you said, when you have an oral history from that person, nobody can tell you a story in more vivid detail than an older person, 70, 80, 90 years old, if they're still fortunate to be alive. That's the only thing that I was saying. That is important. I'm still to this day, right now as we speak, I'm not sure why that bothered that young dude so much. I really don't. I I think that I think that again, and I wasn't trying to be funny at the time until he pissed me off, and then I didn't really care, about disrespecting them. But I hated even doing that because I try to talk to these young men. When I see that they're not listening, I just kind of stop talking. But then when somebody, they don't know how to disagree respectfully, and I should have, but that's neither here nor there now. But that's where the problem I think always happens, because you get these young dudes and it's almost like, that saying they have when you be in the church, in a Christian church, he on fire for the Lord, because you reading all these scriptures and you just think you know everything and you understand. Now you trying to preach to people and you just became a Christian 2 weeks ago. And it's like, all of our information is valuable, but don't tell these young kids right now their dad, their grandfather, and their great grandfather don't matter. Do you know how insane that sounds? That's why I kept emphasizing the point to him. I know for a fact he doesn't have a relationship with his father, because any grown man who got to be in their 30s and they know, and they have a father in their 50s or 60s, they have to understand what their father went through. And to say that they don't count and they were a disappointment to you is because his blood lineage was directly a letdown to him. He probably didn't have a father or a grandfather, and so it's easy to disrespect that lineage. But any of us who have had that, or even had an elderly person to play a grandfatherly or a grandmotherly role in our life, we know how important that is. Just like you just spoke so eloquently about the lady who gave you the 48 Laws of Power book. Those, you can't replace that with anything. I would rather listen to her talk to me for 8 hours than sit in a classroom and read a book that I know is totally fictional about who discovered this country, when, where, how, all of that.
When they found out I was leaving their building, because I kept their building clean, because got to keep up with the seniors, and I wasn't just there to clean, but I also mingled and fixed everything in their house. When they found out I left, my manager called me into the office. He said, "What's going on over there in the senior citizens building?" I said, "I don't know. Y'all took me out of the building a month ago." He said, "Why is people complaining? Nobody's paying their rent over there." I said, "Why don't you go and ask them? Because he's scary.
Yeah.
Me want to be black guy, white guy, scary." He goes over there and said, "We want Miss Kelly back, and we ain't paying shit." I said, "Whoa!" So they put me back in there, and I stayed there until I, wind up retiring. But the point of the fact is, people know, and I talk to them as human beings, as human beings, and I'm thirsty for their knowledge that they have.
Thank you.
And they sent me to go play their numbers. I was their number runner, but store runner. But that's what made our connection so great,
It's nothing like finding a story from a man. He used to always have me go get his lottery tickets. Like I said, I was there for something else. I used to end up giving haircuts. I used to end up cleaning up the facility, and I used to run and get their lottery tickets. And I asked him, I said, "Mr. Henry, why you pay the lottery every day?" He said, "Man, I was a number runner for 50 years, man, in Harlem." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, man." He said, "You probably ain't never heard of Queen." I said, "I know exactly who Queen is." He said, "I ain't gonna even get into it, man. I ain't get you." I said, "No, I want to hear." But comes to find out, he ran around in that circle before Bumpy Johnson. Bumpy Johnson was a driver for his name is escaping me. That's who he came up under. I know. That's who he came up under. And I was sitting there totally enthralled with everything that he said.
He could have been a bodyguard.
That's what he was. He said we were a security team. He said the old man loved Bumpy. Bumpy was the head of security, and Bumpy hired us. He said we got that. He said we got that mantra from Marcus Garvey. And when he said that's where Public Enemy, the S1Ws, that's where the S1Ws formed. That's where all that came from Marcus Garvey. And I was like, wow. He was tying so much of history that I learned bits and pieces about in school. He tied them together in real time to an actual human being. And I was like, wow. Then comes to find out, just things that I didn't know, that we actually did, and that we and that's why I was trying to say to that young man, like, brother, you can't dismiss that. You can't dismiss stuff like that. Like, but if you grow up and you grew up hating your father because he was never there, then you have no allegiance to your direct lineage. And so therefore you can make those kind of statements. And the point I was making to him is not that I'm disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is you can't say that it's not important, because I didn't say that studying our ancient ancestors was not important. I never said that, because again, if you go back to the original video where I started talking that he made this response video too, I started off by saying, I don't knock anyone who studies ancient history. I think that's a good thing to know about those things as a factual reference point in our history and what we've done. But what I'm saying is we should emphasize on our nearer ancestors, because that is what gives us our sense of pride. That's where that whole conversation started. So we weren't originally even saying different things that much, but what happened with he and I is what happens today in the street. Because if you listen to the young rappers, they all say all the older rappers can't tell them shit because they just old niggas that's jealous that they got money and they never made the kind of money that they made. And they honestly believe that. And then you translate that to regular guys on the street. The young dudes say, you can't tell me nothing. You're an old head. Just like he said, oh man, you 55. Yes, sir, I am. And probably so is your daddy or somewhere around there, you know. And again, if you knew him, that would probably be beneficial to you. But that's why it's easy for you to think that it's disrespectful to say that I'm 55 and I'm too old to be a troll or too old to be on the internet or whatever he said. And I just found that funny, because if I talk to somebody 75, they have 20 years on me, so I already have a reverence for them. Why? Because I have a man in my life who's my father, who's 75 years old.
So I guess Dr. Anderson is too old to be on the internet. Dr.
Exactly.
Rock is too old to be on the internet.
Thank you. All these people he follows,
giving you knowledge.
The people that he follows, the people that he actually follows.
But don't get me wrong. I did research ancient history as well. And what I learned from that, because I was running with my husband, General Sars Susetti, and he taught me a lot. And what disturbed me most about all those pyramids is that the nose is broken off because they hiding. They're trying to hide a lot of the heritage
the Europeans,
the ancients. And also, as far as the Marinetta, it will never be deciphered. Never, because no one speaks that language anymore. It's not even a language of hieroglyphics. So
did you hear me say that, Ms. Rye? You are so right. That's why I said we can't even trust the translation, because if that was an original language and no people from that time translated it, how can we translate a language that never existed, that we're looking at for the first time? There's no way we can decipher that, because they weren't even called hieroglyphics at the time.
Nope. It was just pictures on the wall. It was pictures on the wall.
Thank you. That's what I was.
And to see part of that wall broken off, what truth will we never know?
Thank you.
Truth will we never know? So
thank you.
Also, I saw that they tried to rebuild the pyramids and they fell.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
They're sloppy. They just
could not figure it out.
It's sloppy. It fell. So,
and to show you, like you said about the noses of all the Sphinx that sit in front of the pyramids. Now you have to think about, the Europeans didn't want anyone else who came after them to know that these were built by Africans. So because of the wideness and the thickness of the nose, they would know. And that's why they broke off all the noses. A lot of people don't know that. They just think through weather and time that they, deteriorated, but they don't know facts like that. That's why I said it's a great thing to study our ancient ancestors. But what's wrong with studying our recent ancestors?
Absolutely.
That's what I was trying to say.
Because
to the guy.
not for nothing, I would solve the whole problem by saying the blood is lost. The blood is lost.
Thank you. It was lost millions of years.
We only have the blood of the 500 years that's still in our veins. The blood is lost. Like I said, my face, my grandmother got my face. Well, I got my grandmother's face. I got my mother's face. All five of us, all great grandmother, all five of us got the same exact face, the firstborns. And what's so crazy about it is that we all can't decipher who is who in our younger pictures and as we grow older. So we have the same face. I'm the only one that got a scar on my face because I jacked mine's up. But that shows my individuality of them, you know.
It shows you, yeah. And then here's my question too that I was trying to emphasize to him. I said, listen, you can't, the blood was lost so long ago. Say we found a picture, or just like we found this, they found the woman that they call Lucy, the oldest discovered human on this planet. Who was she related to, me or you? See, and that's why we can't get that caught up on that part of it. That's all that I was saying. Not that it's not important, but our bloodlines were lost so long ago that we can pick up from 500 or maybe 400 years ago. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying let's build forward, because our bloodline was lost so long ago and it's been lied about and misinterpreted, and so many times that we will never know. But that is the thing that plagues humans, because we just can't simply say I don't know, and we probably will never know.
Kev,
but they will tell you.
Kev, hold on. I'm going to introduce you to Fact Check TV Roots. Okay. He's Roots Words. This is King Kev Roots Words. Meet each other.
Salute, OG. Salute, King Kev.
Salute, brother. Salute to you.
All respect to the panelists. All respect and all love. Thank you for having me up. This is a great bill for mine. I'll sit back listening.
This is what you do, bro. You know this is what you do.
And see, this is what I want to do with brothers. I want to build with other brothers, because it's not that many brothers in this sector, in my opinion. And it's just humbly, it's not that many brothers that's authentic, that is really, understand the assignment. And so that's why I said I try to reach out to brothers, but I don't care about being, master teacher this or the leader of these people. I want to be a part of whatever's going on. I want to be a part of whatever going on positive that's going to bring solutions to what we're doing right now, because we can't go back and fix whatever happened in the past. What we can do is help the babies that's coming up now so that it's different than it is right now for us. That's it. And again, I respect brothers who know their history. It's nothing. Again, I repeat, it's nothing wrong with knowing our ancient history, but our bloodlines were lost from then so long ago. I'm saying this is just my opinion. One of the solutions in helping us to change, because this is what it's about. It's not arguing who knows the most information or whose information is the most right or the truest or the only living solution to life. It's about how do we come up with solutions right now, because we have issues in our community right now that are going to stop us from going forward, from maybe existing in the future if we don't solve them. And so to me, I don't want to argue about, who was here first, the Anunnaki or the Olmec. I'd rather say, hey, what kind of solutions can I take back to my community center and my nonprofit that I help run? What solutions can I take to the kids that I mentor and try to give them an alternative and a different way of thinking as opposed to how they're thinking right now? That's it. That's all. And I just think, like I said, and it's strange to me when people attack each other for trying to come up with answers. We all allegedly are trying to do the same thing. So, that's where I'm at with it. And I don't, like I said, and I want to sit back and kind of listen to the brothers' input, because like I said, I love listening to other people speak and getting other people's input and ideas. So I'm gonna mute up and kind of get some information.
Fact check.
Awesome.
Tell us about you.
I see Alien Blood just came up in the chat. I'm finna mute up. Yeah. Salute, Alien Blood. Salute.
But he don't want to get on the panel, so he can sit over there and relax over there. He don't want to get on.
I still salute him. Like I said, I'm about peace and positivity, man. I'm about brotherhood, but I'm gonna mute up, brother.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a so-called Moorish national, something like the FBA. So that means that I understand that the DASA 4 happened on both sides of the pond. I'd like to start it off like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a whole bunch of disturbance and enslavement and slavery, chattel property, and people being, let me make sure I say this right. People being in the 1800s manipulated out of their rights that they've been here longer than a lot of other people, and that's including the people that was enslaved on the other side of the pond that came over here and mixed with people with this land. So that means that they have rights over here. So that's just the only part where I'm at with it right there. Like, whether you came through the Dasafar from Africa, Jamaica, Europe, and you came over here through negative ways, or you was over here, we all went through something. And I gotta agree with you. When we keep taking our stories and taking them away from what we can do in America and what that means, like, well, we came over here before all y'all. If we're going on, we came from the other side of the pond. We came over here before y'all. We helped build this nation. So there got to be some type of, let me make sure I say this right, some type of law, some type of loophole, some type of, you know what I'm saying, that can get us out this enslaved state of mind, or in this enslaved contract we in. There you go. Enslaved contract, and put us in a different contract so most of our people can know and be like you and have a non-profit. So when the mothers, as soon as they have a child, they get that fictitious name. So you see what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that, you know what I'm saying, history, you know, so some of that shit, you know, it starts wars. You're right. You're totally right. So if we could stick to that, our history has been Dasafar and horrible since we've been here, and the colonists came over here, if that's the right way to put it. I think that we got to start using the colonist ways, like you said, getting nonprofits from the rip. Birth yourself a nonprofit. I mean,
yes, sir.
And I think that's where our black people go wrong, is we contract as into paying all the taxes and everything, and go through the horrors of economic slavery, when certain people like you and people around, we could help understand that we don't have to be that enslaved in that system right there. But I digress.
You digress. But see, let me ask you, since you're here, so okay, you have traced your family back to the 1800s. So is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you find?
I first asked my grandma, because from the stories been taught, you know what I'm saying, they teach us about the enslavement just from the one narrative. Because I believe now that there's two narratives. It happened on both sides of the pond. So it ain't taken away from nobody's subject or their object. You know what I'm saying? But when I asked my grandma, she gave me a lot of information that took me to her grandma. My grandma died last year, and she was like 97, you know what I'm saying? So I just have to go back 2 generations. That I don't even need to go no further. But my grandma told me that she heard through the community that certain parts was slavery, but she know that we're indigenous Indians to America. So I'm not taking away from nothing. You get what I'm saying? I just know that
absolutely
the economic part of this is understanding that we've been here forever, and there's laws that we can acquire in certain type of entities that we could be and help the mothers and fathers, you know what I'm saying, incorporate into different things to help the community out. But I digress. My fault, I didn't answer your question, but yes, that's what I found out, that my grandma told me that she heard about slavery, but she know that we're Indians too, though. So that's the furthest I can go back to that. And I know I can go back to like 1812. That's my grandma's grandma. I digress.
And that's kind of how I found out too, brother, because it was fascinating to me to find out that this man who's still alive, who is my grandfather's father, he was separated from his parents at 4 years old, and his parents were enslaved. And he was born in a totally different century. He was born 1870 or 80 something. So that in itself, to me, blew my mind. That obviously he doesn't know from which village and which part of this world that his parents came from. He knows that they did, but because obviously if they were able to be separated and sold off from him, that then he knew that they were enslaved. But he said, I couldn't. And one thing he said to me that stuck with me, he said, man, that's the one thing that haunted me all my life. I couldn't tell my son where I was from. I said, yes, you could. You from Barbados. That's why I said, that's why that story, that's even why I told that story, not to, try to make myself look a certain way or my family, but it's just important. It gives you a sense of pride, man. It makes you understand a little more. And then, like I said, to have your grandparent tell you about your parent as a child, that was deep for me too. That was deep. He said, man, you got to talk to your dad. This is my grandfather telling me. I said, what you mean? He said, he's not a talker, son. He's not a talker. He's an introverted guy. See, you're very articulate, man. And it skipped, and I'm that way, and he had to be that way coming to America. He had to learn the language quickly so that he could work and support his family. But he said your dad was an introvert because this has blew my mind too. When he came up, it was a time where a 9-year-old white boy could call a 40-year-old black man boy, and you better not say nothing. Mm-hmm. He said, so when he said that, when I tell you it hit different, because then it made me think about those times where we would be in certain settings, right? And it would be a majority of white people. And my father would go to say something to me, and he would always whisper. You know how we do when we're, hey, and I wonder, and so one day my brother was joking with him. He said, Pop, why you always whisper around these white folks? And the look my father gave him, but because I had that conversation with my grandfather, and I knew that was one of the things that was that bothered my dad his whole life. Because you got to remember, he's 77 now, but from the time he was born up until the time he was probably 25, 30, you still had segregation. You still had him calling you nigga and boy at work, at school, and so he has a different outlook on race. My sister, true story. My sister, who is 6 years younger than me, it's her husband now, but when she first brought him home, he's a white guy named Chris. She brought him home. My dad got up and left the house, his own house. And he's not the type of man to leave his house. He'll put you out of his house quick. He would get up and leave his own house out of love and respect for my daughter. And he wouldn't try to make her feel uncomfortable, but that's how he felt. He don't want anything to do with white folks. That's because he was getting spit on by white folks when he grew up. Mm-hmm. So I never had that experience. So I didn't develop that hatred. I have an understanding of who they are and what they're capable of doing to us. But see, the way racism hits for him is totally different. So I couldn't say, Pop, man, that ain't right, man. You can't do Sonya like that and do her boyfriend like that, man. I couldn't say that to him but I understood that from my grandfather. And that's the connection, like I said, that was real to me. And so my same thing with my son would ask me all the time, why Pop don't like, he would laugh about it because it was funny to him when he would be like, man, why Pop hate white people so much? He can't stand. He called them crackers and this. I said, but I had to break it down to him to understand. And I had to show him those videos that Sugar Love played, showing them getting hosed and the dogs sicked on them when they were in elementary school. And he was like, they did that for real? They did that for real? Now, this is my son asking me, they did that for real? I'm like, yes, son, this is real video. This is not Photoshop. You see, this is black and white. This is real video. It blew his mind because he had never, ever saw. I just thought every black person that saw that historic footage, that and them marching over the Edmund Pettus Bridge and getting beaten. I just thought everybody saw that. But my son had never saw that. Never.
Because he wasn't exposed to it.
He wasn't exposed to it because in school he wasn't exposed to it. But again, once he started getting under me and showing an interest and listening and going, hey, Pop, remember you used to talk to me about X, Y, and Z? What's up? Then we start building because see, he wasn't ready for it when he was younger. His mind wasn't on that. I gave it to him when he was ready. Then he took the ball and started running.
Because I personally, I feel like you feel, because I have two sons, right? My oldest son, when I tell him stuff now, he's like, wow, right? My youngest one, who stayed with me a little bit longer, one-on-one kind of situation, I put what I had into him.
Right.
Okay, because he was willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Now the oldest son is willing to listen. So I said, I'm not going to sit up there and, every day I have to tell you another part of history, because you only know me as your mother.
There
you
you
only
go.
know your father as your father. You don't know about us before you.
As people, right? That's
before you, So
right.
I tell them, I said, well, I'm going to start with my great grandmother. Okay. I can only go to my great grandmother because that's where my grandmother left me off at, with my great grandmother. Now, my grandmother did tell me, she said she used to pick cotton, but she was not a slave.
Right.
My grandmother's
There you go.
grandmother was a slave.
But that ain't saying that there wasn't slave cotton pickers, correct?
Exactly, because they was rooted in the down south in Summersville, South Carolina. So they was rooted down there. They moved up north.
Yeah.
Okay, because I look at my great grandmother's pictures back in the in the 50s and the 40s, with the fancy hats and the dresses and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I thought that's what slavery was.
See what I'm saying?
That was years before slavery.
Yeah.
So if I was born in the 60s, I'm a late almost 70s in the 60s. Right. So I was born around the time when Malcolm X got killed, Martin Luther King got killed, all our leaders. I would just imagine how much of a different person I would have become if they wasn't there.
And I would always think about that exact thing. I was born right on the cusp of both of them being assassinated.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, Malcolm X was assassinated the day before I was born. He was assassinated February 21st. I was born February 22nd.
I like how she was saying that, like the atrocities that we've been hearing for the last I'll say since that era, since the 60s or since the 30s, whichever. Because my grandma said, well, we'll just say since the 60s or the 30s, that all the atrocities from Africa and the slaves that picked cotton and the atrocities that happened. Mm-hmm. But there's another side to that too, that's saying that there was people over here too that can date back to Mansa Musa. When Mansa Musa came over here with all the boats, I think he seen people over here that was us picking cotton. And it wasn't during slavery like this. My opinion of it was all
right. My grandmother said she used to pick cotton, but she wasn't a slave.
My family, my father and his brothers came over here in 1969. They picked cotton. They went in the military. They were picking cotton. This was 70, 71, 72. I said, are you? That blew my, I never knew before my father told me that black people picked cotton who weren't slaves. And in the 70s, that blew my, do you know they still took field trips, in the elementary school, the end of the year, you take field trips. They took, and this was until the 90s, they would still take field trips to the cotton plantations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and them was castles. Like
that was a field trip.
Right now, when I look at them cotton, them cotton plantations,
yeah,
and then you look at them buildings, I don't like Europeans did not know how to do brick mason in that era like that.
Nope, you're exactly right, sir.
Once the black man taught them how to do these things, then they want to develop the unions in the 60s to keep them black people out after the black people already taught them how to do masonry, taught them how to do electricity, taught them how to do things. Then that's when the unions kick in and says, no, we don't want the black people in our unions, because they taking our jobs. So let's unionize the job titles. That's when they took most of the skilled trades out of the high schools.
Now, let me tell you how that ties into our ancient ancestors, and which I was saying to the brother, Alien Blood. It's important to know both because, like you were saying about the reason for the unions in the first place, because we taught them brickwork, masonry, and electrical work. And you know why that is now? Tie that back to our ancient ancestors. What did they find? What were the pyramids made out of? Stones. That's masonry. That was the earliest masonry. And they also knew that we had power sources and light sources. So they know that we know those things intrinsically. So they learn what they can from us, then go further in time. They did it to the native indigenous people that were here in North America. They came they could not farm in Europe because the ground was not fertile enough. They didn't
Right.
know how to farm. When they came here and they learned how to grow wheat and corn, because you remember 3/4 of them died off on their original voyage here because they had diseases and they didn't know how to farm, and they froze to death. And a lot of them, the remaining ones came back 5 years later with a whole new boatloads of white folks. And then what they did is once they learned agriculture, then they tried to enslave the ones who taught them, the indigenous Indians, the indigenous Native Americans. That's why they enslaved us, because once they learned our math, our masonry, and our historical knowledge about astrology and the stars and the galaxy and outer space, then they had to enslave us in order for us not to be the teachers and the leaders in those fields, because they learned those things from us. It's like people saying, oh, I'm a kung fu master. No, you're not. You can never be a kung fu master over a person who was born and bred into that line of, you get what I'm saying? You can learn that art, but you can never be better than the person who taught you, who is native to that discipline. You get what I'm saying?
And yeah, that's
go ahead, brother. I'm gonna mute up.
When they say like in East Africa, there's some beautiful pyramids over there. Gotta say, them things is hot. And then when you go to West Africa, they'll say that slave dungeon. You gotta understand that's a fort. That's something that's made of bricks.
Bingo.
So now when you look on the other side of the pond, you'll see down in Mexico all the pyramids. You'll see in Peru all the pyramids. Now let's jump back across the pond back to Africa. You'll see they found just smaller remnants of Olmec heads that look blackish, Negroish, whatever, enslaved, pre-enslaved people.
Tie it together, brother. Tie it together.
And then let's jump back across the pond and let's say that there's some Olmec heads over here too, though. So I'm just trying to say that there's a history that they're not telling of melanated, brown, dark-skinned people being here. That's all I'm saying.
Just like Miss Rod made that point earlier, it's so much missing, like the nose missing. What we know, that's probably a small portion of what they took and destroyed so that we'd never know. Because we know they destroyed part of our history. We know that.
Because a lot of people don't know that before slavery, there was a thing of Caucasian people that was called indentured servants. And they got paid, I think maybe 5 pennies a day, 10 pennies, 10 cents a day or whatever to work the fields. And they started dying off. They was getting sunburned. They was getting sick a lot, and they wasn't producing enough. And that's where they decided, oh, because of our meddling in our body, that we can gain more and we're stronger, we'll be out in the sun more. So thus that indentured servants turned into slavery for black people, because there's different forms of slavery.
Oh yeah,
there's different forms, you know. So,
and if you look at the British royal bloodline, so many of them were born with malnormities and deformities because they were all inbred, because they believed until they met black people that the only way that you could keep your blood pure was to inbreed within your family. And they didn't know that. They learned from us just things as simple as bathing, you know. So you got to remember, they died of a lot of disease and a lot of physical ailments, you know, because they realized that they were not as healthy as we were. They could not breed. That's why one of the things that was most important during slavery was the males. That's why the bug breaking was necessary. That's why even the word stud that they attribute to lesbian women now, a stud was a male, just like a stud horse. You were there to impregnate as many females as possible because you were deemed strong. You had a strong body. You were physically, you know, you had a physical prowess that white men didn't have. These are things that they noticed, and that those kind of things played more into racism than them just actually hating the color of our skin. It's the fact that they realized that if it came to a battle of attrition, meaning if it was a battle for food and only the strongest survive, it's a good chance that white people would die off, because they saw that early on.
And they are.
What the fear is.
because the depopulation of the black race, whether you want to be African American, whatever race you want to be, the black race, uh, is also happening more at a faster rate for them. It's happening at a faster rate for them as well. Because you think about it, if you go back to our ancestries, I'm not gonna say our ancestries, I'm gonna say our grandparents, right? Grandparents. When they was working those fields, they was still sick. They were still sick. They had Alzheimer's, they had dementia. They just didn't know the names of the things that they had. They did not know the names. Like sometimes they would say, "Oh, the sun beating on my head." That was a form of them saying they're having headaches. You know what I'm saying? So it's so many different things. They went blind. They have all the same diseases that they had back then. Just now they have names for them.
And we were stronger, and they knew that because they would send slaves into the field that they knew were sick, and they would still work them 12, 14 hours a day, and then feed them the worst possible food. But they lived until their 80s and 90s and hundreds. But here you had white kids that were dying at a mortality rate up until the turn of the century, the probably the mid 1900s. White people weren't living past 70 years old. They were dying way before that. They were still dying of emphysema, polio, black lung disease. They were dying of things they had no idea. They didn't know, and they couldn't figure out how black people genetically, they had disabled black people even during slavery, but they worked as well. They worked out in the fields as well. So that they showed them not only our physical strength, our mental strength, because when you just look at some of the wars that happened, just look at 1776. When the war looked bad, the British surrendered. But they looked at Africans and they looked at natives and they was like, we got to kill them. They ain't going to give up. We have to literally kill them. And even if we capture them and enslave them, they're going to fight until the death. So they don't realize a lot of blacks during slavery, even when they were out in the fields, they worked in shackles and chains because they would still run, or they would get in a group and snatch one of those overseers off that horse and beat them to death out in the field. But see, they didn't put those stories out because they didn't want black people on different plantations, different slaves, to hear those stories. Like, what? Some slaves, they didn't kill the master and his wife and the kids on the plantation? They didn't want
to. But when we hear them stories, we got to understand that, like, let me make sure I say this right. Okay. The African that fought the other African, the loser, somehow that happened and they rounded up in America. Now, the people that was here that would look like them, the slaves, they was fighting for years and years and years and years and years up until the late 1800s. But they changed the color during the Reconstruction era. They just changed the color pictures and put some Asians or some white men as the Indian, however.
Tribes fighting against tribes.
The native. But what I say is, a lot of slaves became family. And I just like a lot of them, like there's a lot of feel-good stories when the slaves became indigenous to America, when they became a part of this land. A lot of feel-good stories come with that. Like when you say the wars was dealing with people that was mixed slave, like the Seminoles, and the indigenous people that was mixed fighting. And that we just don't tell enough of them feel-good stories to make us feel good. Like it's just they just went around and bent us over and did this, that.
That's what I was saying about getting in touch with because that is what inspires us to be great, man. And that's and even when you learn the psychology behind it, the whole reason that even started, and later on the Roman empires, that's where they got a lot of these things, because that was the very first form of entertainment for white folks. They would make the two strongest slaves from each kingdom fight each other to the death. There was no, okay, we're gonna fight and then rest and go to round two. You fought to the death. That was their entertainment.
I got a question for both of y'all. Right? Do you think the movie that turned into a miniseries, Roots, did that hinder us as Black people, or did that awaken us?
For me personally, I can tell you this. I remember vividly when that came out. I was in 7th grade. At first, my initial reaction, because of the way I grew up in school, absolutely alien blood. My bad. I'm just answering his question. He said he wanted to do a week Black History acknowledgement. Facts. At first, because of what I was taught in school, not at home now, in school, I didn't want to talk about anything to do with slavery because it brought a certain feeling of shame. Like, I don't want to talk about. But then when I saw the entire miniseries, I can honestly tell you that was one of the first things that sparked me to go to my dad and my uncles and say, who was Sinkay? Who was Nat Turner? How did this happen? How did we finally get out of slavery? And that motivated me to say, never again will I disrespect. Because we used to make jokes, oh, you're a slave or this, that, you Kunta Kinte. But when you realize and understand who these people are and the significance they played in history, not knowing that they would play that role back then, they were just human beings but to know that those people, whether directly or indirectly, they're related to me because, like the brother said, we became family after a time because all we had was each other. So it didn't matter what part of Africa we came from. We learned how to develop a language here that we could communicate with each other that the white folks couldn't understand. That was made us family. Then we started loving each other and started saying, our tribe ain't better than yours. We all in the same situation. Let's unite and try to stick together and make it better for all of us. Think about when you look at those slaves. They didn't look beat down. They had their hair braided. They had their clothes as nice as they could have them. They had their little shanties fixed up as much as they could. Whatever they were allowed, they took that and they did the best with it. They ate slop. But those people still had children. They didn't go to the hospital. They had to have a children in a little shanty on a dirt floor that they built, that the man built, that the husband. That's why you couldn't leave your family back then, because you had a sense of responsibility. Because first of all, if you left your family, where would you go? And second of all, if you left your family, what would become of your wife without her husband and her sons back then? What would have become of a woman and her daughters at the hands of white men back then if we'd have picked up and said, you know what, hey, baby girl, I'm tired of you. You done got a little overweight. I'm finna go and dip over here now. What do you think would have happened to our women back then? That's why I have reverence for those men and I salute them, because I don't care as much as they was getting beat down. They would have to get beat in front of their woman and their children, beat like a dog. But you know what they still did? They stayed and they took care of their family and they held their head like a man. And I just
don't think that happened to more than 10% of people that's melanated in the United States.
Exactly. See, and you just read my mind.
I ain't saying it didn't happen. I'm just trying to say.
No, you just took the words out of my mouth, though. It definitely happened, but they're trying to make it seem like that happened to every single slave. No, it didn't. A lot of massa got killed off because a lot of them weren't having it. Just like they don't tell you that half of the slaves that they kidnapped from Africa originally never made it to the Caribbean or to North America, because before they would be taken, they knew they were going to be put in slavery. Once they were put on those boats and they were chained, they jumped overboard. That's why I wrote a piece a long time ago and I said, we don't know where we're from in Africa, but our ancestors left a trail to lead us back home. And I was talking about the ancestors who jumped overboard rather than be taken into slavery and captivity. See, and those are the kind of things. That's why, and that little line I just said was from a spoken word piece that I had written. But had I not had that history, that oral history, that attachment to my lineage, I would have never had that thought formulated in my mind to say that even though we've been, like you made the point earlier, and Miss Rye, we've been separated so far from our bloodline, we don't know anymore. But I said in that if we were to really be in tune with our ancestors, we don't know where we're from in Africa, but our ancestors left us a trail to find our way home, meaning the bodies that some of those bodies are still laying at the bottom of the ocean, or you know what I mean?
But some of us don't. Some
of
us don't recognize Africa though, but it's still a part of the diaspora, still a part of the enslavement that happened over here too. Though I just don't think
it's part of us. It's part of us, no doubt.
1 second though, brother. I'm saying that Christopher Columbus, when he came over here with his evil ass, however he came over here, lying ass. However, he just seen people that was already here though. So I'm not taking away from colonization. I'm just saying there was people over here, and I think that when I look at a map and look at the Mississippi River.
Okay, I'll follow you now, bro. Okay, I got you. Like,
I'm into my map.
When the Europeans got here, they didn't. It was already other black people here before they brought slaves here. That were
other people, dark
melanated people. Yes, sir. It was already
and we built these cities over here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
absolutely, 100%.
Look at the archaeology of these cities.
Yes, sir.
In America and in Canada and in some of the islands and down in Americas, like it's really like when you say the Mississippi River, it floods. So before you make a city on it, you're gonna have to understand astrology, like you said, and understand. Okay, well, during June through June through September, that's when high tide gonna be here, and the whole area gonna flood, and we're gonna have to understand how to control this. Wow.
Man, break it down, brother. Break it down.
Now, wait a minute. That's what the government depended upon when Katrina hit. Okay.
Y'all breaking it down over here.
We know Louisiana sinks every year. Okay. So the government definitely depended on that high tide coming so they can blow up that wall. Okay. Get rid of all the native people that's been there from day one, family generation, and rebuild. And back then they didn't have insurance. A lot of them lost their homes.
Say that.
A lot of them lost their homes. I came in contact with quite a few of them in New York because they moved into New York into the housing developments. We had to clean out apartments for them to move into New York.
Sure did.
So they, these things that the government does, and the reason why I mentioned the movie Roots, because the first part of the miniseries of Roots, the first part that we saw that we just cried and didn't know and so confused over. Y'all say it's written that it was Alex Haley book. It was not written by Alex Haley. I'm not giving the man who wrote the book any life because he dead.
Right.
But it was made by a white man, and they put Alex Haley face on the script so we can watch it. And that movie actually did something to black people, and it was like some parts woke us up, and some parts put us back to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 100% with that. Depending on the person.
With 1,000 slaves, I'm not gonna say slaves, 1,000 people of color cannot overthrow 7 white men with guns.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody's gonna bullet, and we're gonna kill.
And it wasn't even guns that went bang bang back then. Because I had to do a documentary on guns. Yeah, and it's like a lock barrel.
It took about 2 minutes to load that second.
Yeah, so that's saying that if it was raining outside, or if you was in, like, if anybody ever been in the ocean, your gun don't work because it's going to be moisture.
Right.
Yeah, it's just moisture. Just if you ever been in a boat, just trust me, you're gonna be wet even when you ain't wet. So that's what the old guns was. It was called flint locks, and you have to, like my brother was saying, you have to put some stuff in it, go bang, then get something out your pocket. We hit too hard for that.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what we hit too hard for that.
Do you know how many young people just the last 30 to 45 minutes in this conversation? Because me being my age, I'm like, damn, that's dope. Like I said, that's why I love hearing other people's perspective, because it just it ties so much shit together. Now think about these conversations. We don't have these conversations with young people. We have them amongst each other, but we have to have these with young people so that they have something to be proud of. Because when you talk about lineage, they don't look past they big homie. Whatever they big homie did, the dude that they admired the most in their neighborhood or in their immediate surroundings and circle, that's who they emulated. And that's what you have to realize. You're gonna emulate what resonates with you. So if I'm in a messed up environment and I look up to the most ruthless, dude, on the block, because I see he has the most power, he has the most control, he has the women, he has the money, my young undeveloped mind is not gonna say, Nah, you got to think about all the things that come with that. Your young mind is going to say, I got to be with this dude or like this dude in order to have his power, his respect, his money. So these conversations, though, that's what it did for me. And you were exactly right, Miss Wright. I seen a lot of brothers where just seeing the movie Roots set us back 100 years.
It made them angry. It made them
yeah.
But we got to remember too that that's a movie that.
What year the Roots come out?
I want to say 78, 79.
It came out after Martin Luther King and Malcolm X died, and this is when the Black Panthers were starting to.
The Black Panthers dissolved in 72. So it was somewhere, I think it was 78, 79, if I'm not mistaken. Malcolm X guy was assassinated in 68.
Right.
Dr. King was assassinated in 64. So Vietnam, post-Vietnam, it was right at, I want to say 78, 79. I'm going to Google that real quick.
And then when we start looking at that,
Roots was aired in 1977, and they aired it in 1988.
Okay. And see, I was just going to touch real quick
The
on
the first generation was 1979, and the sequel
was in the 80s. See, I knew it was in the 70s because I remember that era in my life so well.
That's like a movie, though.
Right, the miniseries came in 1977. So,
but when I seen that movie, like when I first seen it, and then my people give me this oral stuff that you'll follow. Okay, I'll trust my mom, my dad, in the community. Yeah. But when you break away from them and you start looking at that movie, like, man, that motherfucking mind control ass shit to knock us off this land. Mm-hmm. Because when I look at Malcolm X, he said that the majority of us was Aborigine to America, including the people that went through the atrocities of Africa. They came over here and came inside of our families. But anyway, Martin Luther King said that we're people from this land treated like foreigners, and we're going to cash our check in, and got his head blown off. Yeah, so there's a lot of good things qualifying yourself that even if you did go through the atrocities or not, however it did, that your family, the first time they had kids over here, that makes them indigenous to America. So it brings a different type of vocabulary and spirituality and economic system that it's an economic gain. Understanding that, okay, yes, we went through slavery. These white motherfuckers cray, and they get cray and more cray.
You have to remember. You have to remember the level of manipulation that's involved. Because like it was stated, Alien just stated, Roots is not a real story, but a good movie. Now it's partially true and partially not, and let me break that down because Miss Ryan touched on it earlier.
Now, nonfiction put together.
Originally, a white man kind of did the version of what we have now as Ancestry.com. He was a colleague of Alex Haley's, right? So Alex Haley was reiterating stories to him. Now, the whole story of Roots was based on Alex Haley's family. So all those characters, Kunta Kinte and all of the.
Hey, why would Hollywood give us that movie?
Wait a minute, let me break it down, because what it was the white man was so fascinated, and again, this is the level of exploitation. He was so fascinated because, again, to his knowledge, most of our history had been wiped out, and the watered down history that they chose to pick and choose and put in the history books that they taught us wasn't right. But when he talked to an actual black man that could trace his actual real family back. Now, keep in mind, this white man, before he wrote this book, before the movie, because it was a book first, he had to authenticate all of these stories.
I'm asking you, Kev, what is the economic or the political or the mind control of them only giving us that movie about our history?
Okay, the economic control in that is because now they control the narrative of how we see ourselves and what we were. Because if you get that black person to think that we were only slaves and that's where we started in this country, like you was making a point, it was black people here before the Europeans came and colonized it. See, we didn't learn that. But if they can paint the narrative, then they can exploit that financially in so many ways. They can railroad up.
And
ahead,
I'm going to show you, bring you back a couple of seconds. I'm going to show you where the narrative came in at.
Okay.
Alex Haley wrote the first biography of Malcolm X.
Absolutely. Same dude.
Now,
For a lot of people didn't know that nugget.
That was in 1965-ish.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
I read both books. So, with taking that from 1965 of the Malcolm X book, do you not know there are 5 chapters missing from that book?
Come on, Miss Ride. Come on, Miss Ride. You better start talking. Come on, Miss Ride.
So, once that area of Malcolm X book was destroyed, don't know where it's at. It might come out like the JFK. I ain't gonna even say JFK no more.
Probably after his daughters pass away.
No, it's gonna come out now that they released the JFK files. You know, probably about another couple more years. We're gonna take
yeah.
But it's going to surface some kind of way. Some kind of way it's going to surface because Alex Haley is dead now. But somehow way it's going to surface. Those 5 chapters that was taken out of his book. What was so crucial about those 5 chapters that they took it out the book? Now that's 65. Come 70, 1974. Now I'm gonna say the white man because I don't want to call his name. He comes to Alex Haley. I got this good book. I want you to write it. We want to turn it into a movie. Gives Alex Haley the script. All he did was add a couple of names to Ruth, the book. Okay, so when you sit up there and you become part of that who destroys our history, you have no credibility.
Right. And we look at the source of that. We look at the source of where that came from. That's why I said you have to understand the level of manipulation. We think, oh, this great. They telling this black story. No, it was a whole manipulation game behind that. And it had to do with finances, and it had to do with structuring the way that black men were forever viewed in our society. Because you think about it, even to this day, like you said, that was in the 70s. That was 50 years ago. It don't seem like it. That was 50 years ago almost that book was written. But what is the one thing that that black people synonymously recognize? When you say roots, you can just say roots to any black person, and almost everybody except the very youngsters know what that means, right or wrong. So that goes to show you how well that worked. That goes to show you how well that worked. And that was just a precursor to everything else that all these movies you see now that came after it. They want to sanitize, like you said. Why did they break the nose off of the Sphinx? Why did they omit the Dead Sea Scrolls when they started writing Bibles and all these holy books? Why did they omit the Devil's Bible? Why did they, so you have to look at all of these things.
King James Version Bible is still in the Vatican, in the basement.
Right. You better shut your mouth, Miss Ride. You better shut your mouth, Miss Ride.
You want me to read a book? You want me to read the whole book? You want me to read the Quran? I want to read the Quran.
Where'd you say that original version was at? In the basement of where?
In the Vatican.
Okay, you better shut your mouth before they come get us, Miss Ride. This is what our kids need to know. This is what our kids need to know.
My opinion of it, what they did for the roots is only gave us a half truth. Like stuff did happen. Them atrocities, okay, I'll say all them atrocities happened.
Right.
But they didn't give the other side of the story that there was already Negroes and blacks over here.
100% facts, brother.
And then one second though, like when we look at King James, like all this stuff happened after the Reconstruction era. There's plainly a law, and it's plainly they manifested it for us and said, look, well, there's a Reconstruction era. And the Daughters of the Revolution, which was they gathered their prettiest women up in America, in Europe, and they sent them over here and put them in the rooms in the Harlems, and they was over here prostituting and being the same. So, I mean, we don't like to tell the stories of that's what the Daughters of Revolution, but they reconstructed history. And to a lot of people's understanding that certain things like King James, there's a lot of cities and places over here that them people belong to in a different history context. Like Europe is too weak a people throughout history to ever be what they say they was. They just weak people. They soft. They can't even be in the sun before suntan lotion. So I just you know what I'm saying though? Like a lot of stories we gotta really check. Like they ain't faster than us. They can't beat us in fighting. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these stories we got to just fact check. That's all. Without aggression.
It's absolutely true because it's like I said, I read a lot of books. I rather read than do the audio, and I rather read so I can highlight words I don't know and go back to those words and look them up in the dictionary, not Google, and actually go through the book. Just like I think it's crazy that Webster Dictionary is adding all these slang terms and ebonics and all of the craziness into the dictionary as well. Because now the dictionary is no longer worth the paper it's printed on. So now everything is online and social media. What are we going to do? And I tell people because I felt that here living here in Texas, when our light grid went out in the freezing cold in Texas. It was freezing cold that so-called day. And our light grid went out they cut it off. They cut it off. It didn't go out. They cut it off. And everybody in Texas was in the dark for 4 days. No internet, no phones, no nothing. No food, no driving, no lights, no nothing. This is
y'all wasn't even used to having the cold, was y'all?
What? I'm from up north. That cold didn't bother me. The fact that bothered me was that I couldn't get online and talk about it. That was the point that bothered me. I'm an up north survivor. I shoveled snow for damn near 30 years in New York City. Okay, so I didn't care about the cold. It's the point that I go look out for my seniors that's in my areas, the people that I know of that's older people. Did I go look out for them the way I would do when I was in New York? Did I go call people that I could to check up on them? You know what I'm saying? So the thing that with Roots was so boring was like how the slaves was okay with being under master and living in master house and sleeping with him and having babies by them. The R word didn't just start. The R word didn't just start with them. They invented it. So every time a white woman got vaped, now it's a national security problem.
And you know what's crazy? We perpetuate what they started. Okay, so what I mean by that is we when I say we black people, darker skinned black people make fun of lighter skinned people because they're quote unquote not as black or they softer, because again, that is that inbred that subconscious programming that we fall victim for, because we still have that colorism within our own community. How is that possible? So we're gonna make it something, and I've said it too throughout my life sometimes. Oh, that's light-skinned nigga problems, or a nigga acting light-skinned or something like that. Because again, but look at the psychological, look at subconsciously, I would say that sometimes, because that's what you're always taught. Said, oh yeah, they got more white in them. So without being said, the implication is they not as black or something wrong with them, because they must have just had somebody white in their family. That's why they so bright skinned. Or on the other end, you're an African booty scratcher if you're too dark, or you're a piece of charcoal. Or see, we can't see even within our own beautiful melanated rainbow, from light to dark and everything in between. We've been made again to still put ourselves in social classes, and that was programmed in us by them, because that is how they categorized us. The lighter skinned blacks were considered more presentable, more attractive, so they got to work in the house. The darker ones had to work outside. That is still so present today.
But the lighter ones were master owned kids. Okay, that was master kids.
Yeah. Those, and that's how they, and again, that's almost how it's looked at it today. That's why they try to make these things about light-skinned people, because they try to say, oh, that's really master kids. See, if they was really black, they'd be chocolate like us. But that show, they still got white. And that's the subtle implication without saying it. But that's the subconscious programming that is automatically, I think, in a lot of us without even knowing. We're not. Most of us are not consciously colorist. But think about when you done call somebody black and nappy head. Or think about when you done call somebody, this high yellow heifer thinks she fine or something because she red or she high yellow or she light skinned. That's what I remember, and this is a true story. One of my cousins used to get beat up by some of my other girl cousins because she was mixed. Her mama was white. This one particular uncle had a baby by a white girl, so she thought she was cuter than everybody else. She never said that. She never acted like that, nor had she ever given any type of energy out that she thought she was cuter than the other cousins who were chocolate. But this is just what was said about her. She thinks she's cute, but the only reason that was said was because she was light-skinned, and subconsciously, we've been taught, darker women have been taught that lighter-skinned women are more attractive than them.
Mm.
That's deep, man. And this was hundreds of years ago, and we're still falling victim to that right now.
You know what I always wished? I always wished that I was darker in skin. It's nothing like the actual skin of a black woman or a man. The skin is like so like beautiful. You know, not to mention it hides a lot of impurities in our faces and stuff, but the lighter your skin are, the more your impurities come out. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know, I'm like, how the hell I'm getting acne over 50? I don't understand it sometimes. You know, but I know I be out there in the sun, and I love the suntans that I get. You know, to even out my skin. The sun makes you feel good.
Right.
Even though some parts of the sun is fake, but I ain't gonna talk about that. But
Yeah.
It's just we're all of the same. We're from the same.
But you see how it plays into our psyche? Because it was so many of my friend girls when I was growing up said, man, I wish I was like, light skinned or mixed and had, naturally curly hair. And I'd be like, why? Because that's the standard of beauty that on one hand, we tried to make light-skinned people feel bad, like they had too much of the white man in them. But at the same time, darker skinned people were taught to be envious of light skin because light skin or mixed kids with curly hair, they were considered the most attractive. You see how that's that double entendre, that double reverse Jedi mind fuck. You see how that shit works on us, and that shit spins us around so much that we fuck. And you ever heard somebody go, I don't like them. I don't know why, but I just don't like them. That's part of that subconscious brainwashing that we've come accustomed to, and it's become normal. But again, these kind of conversations we didn't even start off talking about that, but you see how once you're talking about one important thing, it will walk you right into the next thing.
I wanted to lead into. I wasn't playing the whole thing. I wanted to lead into this conversation because, it's like we are so confused because our history is lost. They got the Moors, they got the other kind of tribes. They all claim it, And then you got the Bible. And they say the Bible, the Quran is an offset of the Bible. And this one is an offset of this one.
I love when people say that. I love that with a passion, man. I be having my Muslim niggas ready to kick my ass.
I ain't gonna start with you because I know what you do, bro.
No, I would never be disrespectful. No, it's all humble and honor. It's all honor, beautiful.
And I respect you for that.
Sir King, it's all honor. But I just was making a joke about you ain't gonna be playing with the Muslim guys, but I'll be making jokes like, the Quran was made after the Bible. They just give me that look.
But see,
I guess
my thing about the Bible is that I know a lot of Bible God-fearing people is on this chat right now, but it's just my opinion. I believe in the Creator. Okay, so and that said, I've read the Bible so many times, and people say, "Oh, you need to get out of the Old Testament, get into the New Testament." I said, I've read the New Testament. I didn't have much of a problem with that. It's the Old Testament that I feel these people are mentally, physically, financially missing. There's so many lies in the middle after the first 5 pages of that Bible. So many lies. I'm like, who did Cain and Abel have children with? Did Eve actually have children with her sons? Because if God only created man and woman, I'm going to read in between the lines and say, God created many men and many women of all over the earth. We just hearing the story about Adam and Eve. Okay.
And that's one of the first questions I had about the Bible. I said, if it was only an Adam and Eve and they had two sons, Cain and Abel, where did the procreation come after that? Because where were the women? And if they had sisters, then that would be incest. So that's why I got kicked out of church early, because I asked those questions when I was like 11 years old. Pastor told me I couldn't come back to that church no more.
I done been to so many churches and studied so many different religions to where I'm like, when I would ask the pastors and the ministers and all the cardinals and all that, because my sons went to Catholic school. When I ask these questions, they'd be like, Miss, we're not dealing with you and your questions today. I said, well, you, as me being giving you 10% of my income, I need to have answers. That's when I decided I'm no longer going to church to pay some man to read to me his version of the Bible if you're not going to read me the truth about it. No one knows. This is the problem that I'm having with people. No one knows about evolution. No one knows how we got here.
We can't tell what evolution happened prior to us, leading up to us looking the way that we look or being able to do the things that we do. And that's the exact point right there. We can never know the process of evolution, so that something's, either one of them is a lie. Either God created Adam and Eve, like the Bible said, or the history books say that we evolved from an animal species. So one of them is lying. So that let me know right there that I can't believe anything that they say, because they don't really know. They're just taking an educated guess from as much information as they know. They're just guessing, because there's no way they can tell you how man evolved 1 million years ago. There's absolutely no way, because there's no skeletal remains from back then. And why didn't monkeys and apes keep evolving into human beings if that's how we originally evolved into what we look like now? See, these are the questions that these are the questions that need to be talked about. And those things will lead us in so many directions. I'm telling you, just like you said, you had a purpose. You had an assignment. You said, I want to lead this conversation in this direction. Look how much information has been exchanged in this build. That's dope. That's dope. That's the type of, I love that type of shit, because now I can take things you said, I can take things Brother Fact said, I can take things people said in the chat, then I can go to other people and I can share information with them and say, check this out. My people put me on this. My people put me on that. And
the questions that make you go, right.
It makes you go, damn, you know what? Or they'll say this to me, damn, OG, I thought the same exact shit, but I was scared to say something to somebody because I thought motherfuckers would look at me crazy. And I'll be like, no, bro. See, that's what we all do, because I thought the same thing when I used to have these thoughts. But that's why these bills are so damn important, man, because that's what we're doing. We're understanding why a lot of the things that we did and we fell victim to and we were subject to, now we're understanding why. So we're more intelligent and we have more resources than our elders did in order to come up with ways to fix this shit. That's the most important part, because you got to remember our elders were not having a lot of these conversations in the 50s and 60s. So we're really the first generation to say, okay, we saw what's happened all the way up to this point. Now we would be crazy to keep going on as scheduled per usual. So what do we do now? Since we know all this shit, since we so damn smart, we so damn hip, we so damn fly, we can dance our ass off and come up with all kind of creative shit. What do we do with this information now that we know damn near everything that we learned growing up was a lie? What do we do with this now?
And that's what hurts. That's what hurts the most.
That's what hurts. And that's what it's hard for people to accept, because they'll go ahead. It's just like perfect segue to these carbonation people. Even when they come to the realization, even if they ever did really believe that that dude was a messiah or this or that, think about when you come into the realization and say, you know what, all of this some bullshit. Now what? Because you spent the last 5, 6, 7 years of your life professing this as the one and only truth in the way to becoming a god, and then to have to admit that, wait a minute, all this shit was a lie. People don't want to deal with that, so they'll just go on with the lie. It's just like the Mormons. When the Mormons found out, and this was just recently, this was the early 2000s, like 2005, 2000, they found out that Joseph Smith, all these tablets and writings that he supposedly discovered, and that they based their whole religion on, they were all made up. But guess what? It's still a Mormon religion, and they still ride with that doctrine, even though they know factually that, because the man who made them up admitted that he made them up. And so, but they still ride with the Mormon religion.
Even the Mormons, Didn't even the Mormons say they came over here and they went down to 7 to 14 cities that was already made here?
Yeah. But they found out that their whole spiritual basis was a lie. But they're still Mormon. But they're still Mormon, so that shows you.
The map that got them here and got them from the East Coast all the way to Utah, they had a map and they went to certain cities. They wasn't in huts and teepees. They went to cities. So that's proving that the black people of this land made these cities. Yeah. Going back to what you said earlier, black people were here way before the European colonizers got here, and they had cities and things built, construction. They were building roads. They were doing a lot of things. So the Mormons is a good insight on that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's why I said we got to really realize what all of this stuff is. And a lot of times, like I said, we can get caught up in all the mumbo jumbo and the soup. But the main thing is a lot of truth is being put out in the open now, and people have been doing something or believing something so long that even when they find out the truth, or when a little bit of the truth is brought to their attention, they're like, no, I don't want to hear it. That's the devil. They ain't nothing but the devil. They don't want to hear it, because they don't want to have to believe and think, okay, now what do I do with my life? Since I've been living my life off a lie and everything that I based on was half truths, now what is my truth and how do I live my life? And most people don't want to take on that task. That's what these people are doing. See, the carbonation people, they don't believe in nothing, but they don't know what else to believe in besides what somebody told them, and they bought into for the last few years of their life. Now it's like, okay, strip all that away. You know that was bullshit. You know that was a lie. You know that was manipulation. Now, what do you believe in? Because you said you don't believe in traditional religion. Catholic, even though y'all steady quote all of those religions and use tenets of all those religions, but y'all say y'all don't believe in them. But then now you find out that Nature Boy was some bullshit. So now tell me what you believe if all of that is false. What do you believe? And they're lost. They don't know what to say. Like, damn, what? So I'm gonna just keep believing the bullshit that I've been spewing, because they don't want to face that reality. Like, god damn, all of this shit that I thought I knew, all of this shit is half truths at best. At best, it may be only a quarter true, but that's how much we don't know. So when these people tell you they have the answers to everything, that's the first way of knowing that they're a cult and that you should believe nothing that they say. When somebody comes to you and say, hey, I don't know, I have no idea, but to the best of my study, my understanding, my personal experience, what my inner being tells me instinctually, this is what I think. Not, oh, I learned this, or I went to Catholic school, or I did this, or this person. You could go to any religion and they'll tell you their religion is the only true religion and the only true way to heaven, euphoria, whatever you call that euphoric place that we're supposed to go to after we die. People have to believe that, because if they don't believe that, then you go, okay, now what do you believe then if you don't believe none of that? See, and they've never contemplated that before, because we've been always taught and programmed since we were born that you have to listen to this, belong to this group, or think this way, or you will be an outcast from the majority of people. And that's the way they get people to bend to their will, because Nature Boy, he'll make a perfect example. He'll go, hey, Miss Riot, energy off. Can't y'all see her energy off? Everybody be like, yeah, her energy have been off today. Now everybody against you. Ain't nobody says your energy was off until I said it.
Let's slap her and see what happens.
Exactly. See, that's how easy the manipulation is. That's how easy the manipulation is. And that's why we have to be careful about misinformation. Because I tell anybody out there in the chat, any of my mentees, anybody that I speak with, I tell them, don't believe nothing I tell you. Research everything I say. And if I don't know, I don't have too much pride where I say, listen, I don't know, bro, but listen, let's research that and build on that and try to figure this one out. That's how I am. Some people can't tell you, I don't know. They'll make something up just to keep from saying, I don't really know. I don't really know. They'll use a bunch of words that they know that other person is unfamiliar with, a bunch of terminology, and then that person who is less knowledgeable go, damn, they deep. They talking about the Anunnaki and the Olmec and talking about, going this earth plane and going to the ninth dimension. That sounds deep to a person who doesn't know anything, but a person who has a basic understanding of history and knowledge and of self, that it sounds crazy as soon as they start opening their mouth. But that's where we at with this. And that's why I said, that's why I love bills like this. And I appreciate this. I appreciate bills like this, because you can't have these conversations with the average person, with the average people that are in your circle, to be for real.
That's what I do over here, because I done been banned. I don't know how many countries already.
You don't know how many people tell me, man, I don't want to hear all that Malcolm X. I don't want to hear all that Black Revolutionary shit. You always on that shit. Ain't nothing else to be on, brother. It ain't nothing else for me to be on.
I didn't start my learning, my education by social media. I started in school because I had to do an extra year high school. I ain't going front, but I got that. I walked though. I walked
That's
my
right.
back,
That's right.
I got my diploma. The reason why, because all through high school in science class, I will always challenge the science teacher. So when I finally went to the principal, Mr. Cox, I said, I was in Boys and Girls. Mr. Cox, listen, boys and girls. He ain't trying to teach me. He trying to lie to me, and he keep failing me. What you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? I was a real gangster. What you want me to do? I was telling him, why is this? Why? How? Why? Read the book. I read the book. I'm asking you the questions. Teach me. You know what I'm saying? So, he wound up asking me because he didn't want to fight no more. But the point I'm trying to make was, if you telling me science, who am I supposed to believe? Science or God? The law, the law of man. The law of man is God. So you have the scientists telling us the earth got made through the Big Bang. Right? You got God telling us. Now, I say God, right? I believe in the creator. I believe in the creator created all things.
Right.
His name is many names. Okay?
Yes,
many names. In the beginning of the Bible, God created heaven and earth. So, saying that to say, why do they take the Bible out of school?
Thank you.
Why do they take the Bible out of school? We used to pray every day in school. Now we can't pray.
I remember when we that first thing in the morning, they come over the PA system, and that's when we was getting that principal had that paddle up on the wall, and you get that ass whooped at school too if you got I remember that. But what they had to realize is you can't teach in school that we came from apes and monkeys, and then you're telling us in
that's not pledging allegiance, because I was like, this is not my food.
What am I pledging allegiance? Thank you. Which even translate all the way into today. People say, oh, Colin Kaepernick was disrespecting the flag when he kneeled. That flag was never for us. That flag was created when we were still slaves, so it never represented us. So what is he disrespecting? He's disrespecting the legacy of slavery and of racism and prejudice. So we have to see all of this stuff ties together, man. All of this stuff is linear. It's not like just things that are happening random. All of this stuff happens sequentially in history and order. And you have to realize it all is tied together. It's all tied together, because you can't teach that there's one creator that created the original man. But then in a book, I learned this all Sunday. God is omnipotent. He created man. He created man. But then Monday, when I leave church on Sunday and I come to school Monday morning, it's teaching me that not God created monkeys, but these monkeys and these apes were here, and just slowly over the years we evolved from them into humans. Well, wait a minute. But I said, well, wait a minute, Mr. His name was Mr. Nestle, like Nestle Crunch Bar. I said, Mr. Nestle, how is it possible that God created us, but we evolved from monkeys? So did he create us, or did we evolve from monkeys? He put me out of class. And that was my first lesson to know. And I think Jackie said it earlier, people are in love with their illusions. Yeah. People are in love with their illusions. Whatever
we was taught so many lies. We don't know what to believe in.
Beautiful lies. We were taught beautiful lies, romantic lies.
But these lies are dangerous to our culture. They're so dangerous because during the time of them lying, they wiped out our history. They told us what to believe. Now, you really want me to believe that the Bible says the earth will not move. The earth is flat and it is stable. But yet you want me to support a globe that's rotating.
Me and somebody had a conversation about that the other day.
I'm a flat earth, so y'all know I'm a flat earth.
I told a person, I said, you know, the only reason, and this is, and scientists will tell you this, the only reason that scientists started saying the earth was round, because when we were able to develop telescopes and we were able to see other planets, we saw them as round in the telescope, because a flat surface will not transfer through a telescope when it's magnified and through the confines of space. Right. That's why it looks round, because we're seeing a flat surface, but it looks round because that's how our eyes will take. Do you know that when we see something, we're literally see it upside down, but our brain is what flips it over and makes us see it upside down. So that's the same thing. When we developed telescopes and we were able to see stars and other planets and moons and such, they looked round to us. So we thought, okay, then our planet's got to be round.
Egypt, they already had the technology.
Exactly.
They already had this technology, because they was like, oh, the pyramids were built to be tombstones. No, the pyramids were built to be light sources. That was the original solar source on top of the pyramids.
That's why I was saying earlier about we were stoneworkers, masonry, and we can prove that they had light sources inside, hundreds of feet inside those catacombs, inside those tombs. They had some type of light. So all the technology that we are experiencing right now, they've already had that. I don't know how many times this earth has reset itself, because you got to understand. Now, here's something 5 million years old that we still can't build today. So are we that dumb? We can go to the moon, or we can develop a device that we can talk to each other remotely, but we still can't figure out how they build pyramids, which are supposed to be ancient. So that tells me that as smart as we think we are, there's been people that's been smarter than us probably hundreds and thousands of times on this planet before we were. That's just my own personal thought.
Say that again.
Okay, so if this is how I know the planet reset itself, meaning some type of natural disaster or man-made disaster happened to where mankind was obliterated, regenerated, started over again, started in the most primitive state, got to where we are now, something, and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, so for instance, we have the capability now through technology, but it took all these years since we've known about, let's just hypothetically say, since the caveman days or since ancient Egypt.
Talk about the caveman, yeah, go ahead.
Right. But I'm just using that as an example to show you, okay, so up to now in 2022, we know we have a weapon that can destroy the whole planet. So just say the United States and Russia set off all its nuclear warheads, it would destroy this whole entire planet. Now, eventually, life would regenerate itself again, just the way it did when they're talking about the Big Bang Theory. However it was, I'm not going to even guess or put no space, but however life was regenerated, when we got here, that's how it was regenerated. Not to say that God didn't create the original man, but what I'm saying, this earth has cycled through. So what I'm saying is, now, if we all died off today, 1 million years from now, people are going to build, and they're going to find out some technology, and they're going to go, oh shit, they knew how to talk to each other without needing a telephone back then, or they knew how to fly to the moon back then. That'll be like us looking back and saying, oh shit, they built the pyramids and we still can't figure that out. That technology is probably even more advanced technology than that, but that civilization was wiped out. Then here came the ones who built the pyramids. They were wiped out. Then here we come. We'll be wiped out. Somebody, see what I'm saying? So what we know now ain't shit. We think we know more than the ancient people knew, but that's not true, because we still can't figure out how they built shit 5 million years ago.
Now, that's another thing that I get so confused on. If the Bible is only 6,000 years old, okay, so man goes back 6,000 years. We're talking before AD, after Christ, before Christ, and then so when you said reset,
right? So they go to show you, perfect example. Pause right there.
Reset is in the Bible when God destroyed the earth by water. by fire. Right. First, the earth was destroyed by fire. Then it was destroyed by water. And then God said, I don't like the word saying the word what God said, because I just feel the people that wrote this Bible, these are some stories. It should be a book of stories.
Exactly. It's a book of parables. It's
and the story
exactly what it is. If we're 5 billion, I'm sorry, go ahead, Miss Wright. I mean,
the story will show you from each book the mentality of the person writing that book.
Thank you. That's the period of time in which they lived. They weren't the original. It was people here before the pyramids, because that's how they learned how to build the pyramids. They didn't just all of a sudden go, oh, we can build pyramids. It was thousands and thousands of generations of people before them who built and learned the technology to build pyramids for that time. Now that all those people were destroyed and wiped out, why did it take us, our iteration of humanity, why did it take us this long to learn how to make a computer? See what I'm saying? We built pyramids 5 million years ago, but like you said, 6,000 years ago, 5 million, that's how old we know we are, at least 5 million, but the Bible's only 6,000 years old, and that's because that's when we learned to write. That's when we learned to write in our evolution, our progressive evolution. It took us, so in other words, if the Bible's only 6,000 years old, and we know that we're at least, and probably more, but we're at least 5 million years old that we knew, then that takes out 49.4 million years that we don't account, that we can't account for before the Bible. So there was no history of that. So how can we possibly talk about that? And even when they wrote the Bible, they were still only talking about stories from hundreds of years ago that have been passed down. So that's why I said this earth is probably been millions of iterations of people on this earth. And then, like you said, we got wiped out by flood, then by fire. And then the next iteration, I think, is going to be by nuclear war, because we're going to destroy each other by nuclear war. We're going to destroy each other by nuclear war.
Technically, we are the generation of Noah.
If you want to put it like that,
no,
yes, man.
Because
that's how they equate it.
If you go by the Bible, God flooded the earth, the whole entire earth. Who's to say that he didn't have other Noahs all over the earth?
Thank you. That wasn't the first Noah. Who's to say that's the first Noah?
Exactly.
Just like the Egyptians.
Just one of the many Noahs.
We just know of the Egyptians from the artifacts that they left. It was something before them, because obviously the Egyptian had parents. So who are they? We don't talk about them, right? Because they all had to be born. So that's how you know this world has been in millions and millions of different iterations at different times in our evolution. This is just one of them. Like you said, we were destroyed by fire, by water. Now we will be destroyed by our own technology, by nuclear war.
But the Bible states, God said he will never destroy the earth again. That's what the Bible says.
Well, see, and that maybe, see, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you
nothing about man doing it, though. He said he will.
And that's why I said, how can I dispute that? I wasn't there. God may have said that. So that's why I say to people all the time, don't be so quick to dismiss other people and what they believe, because we all believe what we believe for the different reasons we believe them. Now, if we hadn't destroyed each other before, time after time and time again, and you believe that, then why would God say, I'm leaving instruction that I will never destroy humanity again? Because obviously it had already been destroyed many times before that, correct? That's why I said, the people always talk about the Egyptians. They talk about that. Who are the Egyptians' parents? Because we don't have a name for them. We don't even talk about them. We start there because that's the only artifacts that we have. We don't have any of the ancient Egyptians' parents and grandparents' artifacts. You get what I'm saying? And we know that they had parents, because we know that the only way that the form of humans that are here on this planet now, the only way that we get here is from a male and a female combining and procreating another human being. So who are the Egyptians' parents? People say, man, we 5 million years old. No, we older than that. The Egyptians are 5. Well, who were their parents? Because they were born. So who are their parents? And then their parents, who were their parents? You see what I'm saying? We can never go back and figure this shit out. We can never go back. And
Nope.
I think Alien made that point earlier. It didn't start at there was many iterations of people on this planet, and this planet has been in many different forms. I believe that we were destroyed by fire at one time because we rotated so close to the sun and we didn't know how to protect ourselves naturally with shelter that a lot of the wildlife and a lot of the humanity that was on Earth was burned up. And then when our planet fell further out of rotation, that's when we got night and day. So we weren't, because it was a time that this planet, it was daylight all year, I mean all day, all, you know, for all, it was no darkness. There was no darkness. It was always
And
light.
one of those continents is Antarctica. It gets 6 months of daylight and 6 months of darkness.
And even with that,
and I'm like, how is that possible on a rotating Earth?
Okay, so and now I'm glad you made that point. Right now, today in Alaska, do you know how many hours of sunlight they have in Alaska?
Yeah, my friend
20. They only have 4 hours of darkness. You know why? Because of its positioning on the planet, and not because we're round, but because we're flat and something's rotating around us. If that's why, how can you say the sun rises in the sets in the west? It rises in the east and sets in the west.
Mm-hmm.
It's going around us. But if you have something that's at the top of something that's going around, then it's going to be exposed to the sun more, while the moon is rotating and while the sun is rotating around us, that one place still stays in position. So the only time that it's dark is when the sun is farthest from that point. That's why you have more than 12 hours. Think about it. And if we wake up and it's light at what, 6 a.m.? Let's just say 6 something, 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
that's
dark.
Why they daylight savings time.
Right. But how come they don't have to have daylight savings time in Antarctica?
By the equator, it's the same. It's not that.
And why do we have different time zones? Why do we have different time zones? How can it be this? How can it be 7 o'clock, 7:45 right here where I am, but on the other side of the planet that you claim is an equal distance, that something that we're rotating in a circle? Then how can our times be a whole half a day off? It's 7 o'clock here in the evening, and it's about 3 or 4 in the morning over in Great Britain.
Like my friends call me from China. And I'd be like, I'm sleeping, right?
It's a different day.
You know, they be calling me like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because they down getting up.
Right. Like, and it may be Friday morning here. They may call you, it may be 3 o'clock Friday morning.
That's why when the new year comes in, you have to go to all the different channels because people call it Happy New Year. Oh, I'm a year behind. I'm an hour behind you.
Right.
I'm in front of you. I'm 4 hours in front of you. I'm 4 hours behind you. You know, because I fly a lot through different time zones and my body changes.
Why do you have jet lag? Why do you have jet lag if time is a continuum?
But I've been from New York to Texas and from Texas to other states and other countries or whatever. My body takes a toll of going through time zones.
Yeah.
You know, people don't understand that. You know, they wonder why they get that queasy feeling in their body because going time zones is like stepping back. So I'm going forward. I'm going forward into the future.
Forward in time. Hey, that's my point of making. If time was one time, it would be that time all over the world. But it's not.
It's not.
So, okay. So, and we gotta, and that's what we have to realize. All of these principles, all of these things that we know from the earliest version of our people, us, our race, our species of people. So we have to understand what significance we play on the timeline of this planet. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why I said when we have these conversations, these are things that younger people can relate to. A lot of the things that I realize that I speak about.
Hold that thought. Alien blood. Let me tell you about your comments, bro. If you feel some kind of way, you need to get up here and talk to this man. Don't say what he's getting confused. Okay, bro? Come up and speak to this man. Don't, do what you're doing in the chat because you are the young alien blood. Okay? Read more books. Leave Google alone. All right, go ahead, Kev.
Yeah. So, but but shout out to people who have different opinions, because again, I don't ever want people listening to me think that I don't want to hear nobody else's point of view. That I really don't, and I'm not a person that can't be corrected. People around me, people, they'll tell you all the time. People correct me all the time. Some people younger than me, some people older than me, some people the same age. We have to be open to information. Like a lot of the things that you said to me, Miss Rod, or that we've talked about, right? Somebody else might have said it at some other point in time in my life, but maybe the particular way that you said it, the way that you expressed it, from your information, from your background, it resonated in a different way. That's why I said I appreciate these brothers, because I don't listen. I know that what they telling me is a lie. So the only people I believe is my brothers. I don't want them lying to me. So I'm saying, let's get together and build so that we have a circle of trust and understanding. And even if we do disagree, we still not enemies. We still don't gotta hate each other.
Right, we have our own opinions. We have our
own opinions, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's how you compare notes, and that's how you come to that's how you believe what you believe. Because I'm gonna listen to Alien Blood. I'm gonna listen to the brother that was up here earlier. I'm gonna listen to some other brothers I might politic with.
That brother that was up here earlier, he is. I can't even. Yeah, he. Well, we call him root words. He is like amazing when it comes to words. You know, he
love to hear these brothers speak. Especially when they're passionate. He passionate about what he's talking about.
Absolutely.
And that's why I don't let people tell you being emotional. You absolutely should be emotional about shit that matters and that cares and that you care about. And I care about us. And I think everybody in here cares about us as a people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in here, because this shit would be boring if everybody in here wasn't really interested in this and what we're talking about, and getting a better understanding and coming to a different place within our people. So I look at y'all like that first. So y'all realize in the chat, even if I challenge something that you say, I appreciate you, because at the end of the day, we still on the same team, because we still have the same goal. Because if you wasn't interested in black people and the betterment of black people, this conversation would have bored your ass an hour and a half ago, and you wouldn't even be in here commenting.
Exactly.
So I can understand, and like I said, and it's a thing too, and this is including me. I'm including myself in this before I include anybody else. I'm trying to learn to be more respectful in my disagreement with people, because I'm not perfect. And as a man, as a human being, I realize that I can be better all the time. And that's why I listen to women around me. That's why I listen to young folks around me, because I can talk to people my age all day, but if I can't relate to younger people, then I'm not effective. So I got to listen to everybody, and I got to listen to younger people saying, hey, Pop, I understand what you're saying. OG, I understand what you're saying, man, but it's different with youngsters. This is how we think. And I go, you know what? Damn, you sure right.
That's why I teach my sons. And I told them, when I'm in the process of writing a book, and it's only going to be 2 copies. There's only going to be 2 copies.
That's right.
One for each one of my sons.
And I wrote a book for my kids. That's so crazy that you said that.
The whole story.
I wrote a book I would never publish that for my children, and I never. That's so crazy. But you see how the synergy brings, and that's why I said I try to use even different terminology than a lot of these cults use, or a lot of these, so-called woke brothers, conscious brothers use. I try to think of a different vernacular, because those are all trigger words for those type of. You see what I'm saying? You just said something, and I did this about 12 years ago. I said I want my kids to know who I am, because again, having that conversation with my great grandfather and my grandfather about my daddy. I said, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna give my kids the good, bad, and ugly, and it's unfiltered and it's uncensored, and I'm gonna give it to them. And so they have an actual book that now you read this from front to back. I ain't gotta say nothing else, and plus your personal interaction with me. Then now you'll know your dad. So you just know me as your dad. You'll know who I am as a human being, as a person, what I stand for before you were born. Then when you were born and after you were born, and you will see my progress and my changes. You'll see all of those things, and you'll know me. So nobody will have to tell you anything. That's history you'll have for the rest of your life. So that now I got grandbabies, my grandbabies. Now, my youngest being 5 and 4. I call them the big kids and the little kids. The little ones are 4 and 5, and the big kids are 13 and 12. My daughters they're all her children. So I have a benefit of being able to kick it with a 12 and 13-year-old and kick it with them and talk to them, young teenagers, and then still have babies. But guess what? My youngest she's the only girl. It's 3 boys and 1 girl. Journey's the baby. Her mama can give her the copy of my book that I gave to her, to my daughter. She can give it to her kids, and now that's 3 generations down. If my granddaughter gives it to her baby, they'll say, "Who is this man in this book?" You know Granny. You remember Granny? And this is my grandbaby talking to her daughter. This is Granny's daddy. For real?
Yeah.
Oh, word. He used to skateboard when he was like 50 years. Word.
Well,
See, now
the reason why I didn't finish the book, Alien Blood, since you must know, I had suffered mental illness, and what happened was I couldn't understand my handwriting. I always kept ledgers, always kept diaries. So
wow.
Some I could tell when my mental illness really hit me hard was where I was writing so much to where I was writing in a third party. Okay.
Wow.
So that's where stuff was going so wrong in my life to where I was like, when I look back and read those notes and those writings, I'm like, who was this?
Yeah.
You know, that's when I found out that I had quite a few other people going on in me. So it's like,
and thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Rod, because we need to say that. We need to be able to admit that to each other that, hey, I'm having a mental health crisis, or I feel like I may be dealing with some mental health issues, because that's still very taboo. So thank you for sharing that with us. A lot of people won't. Yeah, a lot of people won't and don't.
Yeah, so, you know, it took for me to actually start embracing who I was. You know, after this happened after high school, after I got married, and it was like, you know, I had severe mental illness, and you know, it got to the point to where I didn't eat, and I was just gaining so much weight, and I blew up to almost 300 pounds, and I was on all this medication and this and that, and I said no, I had enough. It took for my son, because of the relationship I have with my children, it took for my son to come home from school one day and kiss me and woke me up out of my bed and said to me, "Mom, get up. I need you to get up. I want to go to college. I need you to get up." And he saved my life, because all them drugs and shit they was giving me, I probably was OD'd. Because I was like, "Oh, take this one, take that one, take this, take that." And from there, I got my act to fucking together, because that's where I knew I'm not taking nothing else they're giving me. Nothing.
That's because you knew how important your bloodline was, and your bloodline was able to reach you. That's why this shit is important. You just encounter, hey, boss lady, that's why all of this is important. That's why all of this matters. That's why all of these conversations, that's why all this sharing, that's why it all matters. It all matters. The old shit, the new shit, and everything in between. It all matters. We all just, we know that all of that is part of our gumbo. Now we need to start picking the specific ingredients out that feed us and nourish us and that are good for us. Because you got to remember, even though the gumbo will fill our belly up, there's some things in there that ain't good for us. The pork. So again, we can still take the beef. We can take the white meat out of there. You know, that's good for us. We can take the soup base. So that's what all of this is about. All of it is important. And that's why it's so important for your kids. And you said it earlier, Miss Ryan. You've hit me in the chest about 5 times today on different points when you just made the point about your son. If your son didn't feel that connection to you, he wouldn't have known, wait a minute, this ain't my mom. Mom, get up. Come on, baby. I gotta go to college. I need you to get on. And that made you snap out of it, because you realized how important your lineage was to you. Yeah. And that made you, and then that gave you said, wait a minute, these drugs are making me feel fucked up. So now you're looking at big pharma. Wait a minute, these drugs might be fucking us up. See, they make me work for some people, but wait a minute. So you see how, and then you start, it goes outward, because what we're doing, this shit is going to spread outward, because Alien Blood, Kiki, Nicole, Marquise Dillinger, everybody is going to take a piece of whatever resonated with them from this, and they're going to take that shit out to other people, and that's going to spread and spread and spread, and so on and so on and so forth. That's what's going to change our circumstances. That right there, in a nutshell, everything we've been talking about.
The connection that me and my kids have, I always kiss them in the morning before they go to school, and they always come find me and kiss me when they get home.
That's
And he
dope.
noticed that I was in the bed. I mean, dinner wasn't done, nothing. He noticed.
Yeah.
I took that medicine right after he left that morning.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, so that was crazy. And for me to be the way I was, hey, something not right.
Yeah.
Get up, call the doctor, hospital, get up, you know. So
And it made you realize, it made you realize, like, yo, something's wrong. But if you would have just simply listened to people and not trusted your own, because again, whatever you call God, that's already inside you. So if you didn't never ask nobody else nothing, God in you is going to tell you exactly what to do and how to move. Now it's up to you if you listen to that or not. But again, once you realize within yourself, wait a minute, this shit ain't helping me. But you would have got another doctor to tell you, oh yeah, absolutely, Miss Ride, you need this. Matter of fact, the reason you're not feeling well is we need to up your dose a little bit. And so then now you're caught up in that cycle. But when you finally listen to yourself and say, wait a minute, this shit ain't making me feel right. I'm looking back, I'm talking in third person. I don't even recognize my handwriting.
Yep.
My kids are pulling on my coattail, let me know, wait a minute, Mom, what's going on? Hold on. See, all of those things, you came to that understanding not because you had a Baba, a master teacher, or nothing. You went inside yourself when you were at the probably one of the lowest or darkest moments in your life. That's why I said you've been hitting me in my chest with shit when you said, sir, when you said writing a book. I did this about 12 to 15 years ago. I said I felt so misunderstood. I said I want my children to know who I am. I took my time. It took me about 3 years to write this book. I wrote a book and I gave it to each one of my kids and said, here, now you don't ever tell me that you don't know something. I'm telling you everything. And any questions you have after you read it, come in, we'll talk about it.
Exactly. That's why I told them, I said, you know, I'm here.
Our relationship changed forever.
I'm here to give you this knowledge now. Like I tell them, I'm here to give you this knowledge now. But when I'm going to leave what I said to you in words so you can pass it on, because it seemed like, I mean, I've seen a lot of families that, you know, they got big families, really big families. And my problem that I have with a lot of the people is they just, oh, my mother and father made me. My mother and father made me, and they got a mother and father, and that's it. You don't know nothing. Then you know, you want to start. When my son started having children, that's where I had to make sure they know the history of what's going on inside their kids' bodies.
Right.
They had to know the history. They had to know that they ask you, do you have this run in your family? Does this run in your family? High blood pressure, blindness, this, that. You have to know these answers. Otherwise, you're going to raise a child that's going to be sick.
Yeah.
And you know why?
Yeah.
Because you don't know your history. Again.
And it all ties. See how all of this stuff ties in together. We're all right. We all are saying different things. We're saying the same thing in different ways. All of this shit is important. That even to that smallest minute, because my son was in a very bad car accident about 7 years ago, and he needed a blood transfusion. If I wasn't in his life, he would have died, because I'm the only one that, outside of him getting a blood transfusion through the hospital, but it would have been too late by that time. So, but because I was simply in his life, I knew his blood type, he knew mine. We knew each other's medical history. I could go right in and say, hey, I can get me ready, strap me up, lay me on the table. This is my son. We ain't got nothing to talk. Let's go. Now, if I wasn't in my son's life, my son could have possibly died just for the simple fact that I broke that lineage and our legacy, because I didn't, for whatever reason, I wasn't in his life. He would have literally died, because none of his siblings, because we have a rare blood type. So none of his siblings, his mama, nobody could have gave him a blood transfusion, and he would have been so far down on the list, it would have been over. So that's why I said all of this shit ties in together, and I'm so glad that I tapped in. Let me show you how the universe moved. I don't even know what I was doing. Boom, Miss Ryan, you pop up on my notification. I come on. You know the very first word that I heard you say, Miss Ryan, and I promise you, this is the very first thing I heard you say. If either one of these guys pop into the chat, y'all tag my name and let me know so we can discuss this. That was the first thing I heard when I clicked on.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I heard. I was like, you know what? I got to go hold my sis down, because this wasn't an accident. This was my elders, my ancestors, you all moving together saying, boom, you need to be in this spot at this moment so that you could get this work from these people at this time and do whatever else you need to do with it.
Because a lot of people, you know, like I said, they just go by, you know, what you can't keep. Okay, in order for you to get to tomorrow, you have to live for today and understand what happened today to get to tomorrow.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's why I said I appreciate y'all. Even if I disagree with you, trust me when I tell you, I appreciate you because we're a small circle, whether we realize it or not. We're a small number, but what we doing, this is gonna spread that shit out like a spider web. Because each one of us, we gonna come in contact with at least 3 other people that we mentioned something out of this conversation about.
yeah.
And one of those 3 people are gonna go, wow, you know what? Damn, I never thought about it like that, or nobody ever put me on that information. Now, say it's 50 of us in here, and we all go out and we talk to 3 people. That's 150 people that we're reaching. And those 150 people could potentially reach 3 more each of their own. Now we're talking about 700 people that we've, just because we had a conversation and we were able to move the ball forward. We weren't arguing. We weren't talking about no drama. We weren't talking about no bullshit. We was talking about problems, questions, and then solutions.
But a million people can worry about Nature Boy and his crazy, nasty self. And don't care about what really affects you.
And ain't talked about one thing that affects. We talked about mental health. You without knowing, you've probably given somebody the courage to go, you know what? Let me go tell my mom and dad that I be thinking certain things, or my mental health may be, and that's probably why I'm acting this way. Or maybe this medication that I've been taking because everybody told me I was hyper or I had ADHD, and I've been taking this medicine since I was 7, and I've been thinking about getting off. That's the kind of impact that this stuff has. This right here. Straight up, and I'm gonna just say it again because it's important, man. And I appreciate everybody in here. And that being said, I gotta get out of here because I didn't even intend to come on this show. But like I said, soon as I clicked on when I got the notification and I literally hit your page, I heard you say we're gonna play this video, this part 2. And if y'all see either one of these 2 guys, meaning me or AB, pop in this chat to tag you. That was the first
because
thing
I was playing the video. See,
and I didn't know what happened before that. But like you said, to figure out what's gonna happen tomorrow, I had to tune in to see what's going on today. And with that, chat, salute to y'all.
For coming by.
Salute to y'all. Everybody in the chat, I appreciate y'all. And Miss Ryan, thank you for coming up and let me run my mouth for a little bit because I got way more than I gave.
You're definitely full of a lot of knowledge. You're full of a lot of knowledge. I've seen it plenty of times throughout the year or 2 that we've been messing around with Sugar Love and Tony.
Yeah.
And you're full of a lot of knowledge. And it's like you have to share your knowledge because if you don't share it, you know, I'm not good on the Nature Boy thing. I'm not good on the drama circuit. This is not me. I'm more into trying to understand why the universe works the way it does.
I'm with you on that. And like I said, and I think we're all like minds because, like I said, this would have bored the average person at the beginning because it's just not in that frame of mind. They're not in that place in their life where they're thinking about the things that we're thinking about. And that's why it's so important that we all stick together. We can disagree and argue and then still come back together and be like, we on the same team. Salute, Alien. I appreciate that, bro. Be safe out there too. So I got to get ready to move around, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm definitely going to tap back in every time because like I said, I'm subbed on your channel. So I got you locked in. Everybody else, I'm subbed with y'all too. So when I got my alerts and my
how does that block you on my page?
You know what? I don't know. But when I went in my Google account, because I had to go back in my Google account and manage my, because I don't post anything except, like your couponing thing and some of Tony's videos from Tony T. I post that on my page, but I don't post any content but when I went in there to change my settings, because I also was trying to change my profile picture that y'all see now, I was trying to change it. That's when I saw your name. That's why I said maybe I have to reset because for some reason, I don't know if I got hacked, but I saw Rain Doe was blocked. Somebody named Nichelle something was, but it was like 10 people that I never ever blocked. So when you were saying that, that's why I said that's what Miss Ryan was saying. That's why I couldn't see Sat 12's comments either until I got my phone. But when I'm on my computer, her stuff doesn't pop up because that's my, But when I have my phone, I was like, wait a minute, where y'all seeing Sat 12 comments at? I don't know what happened. I'm not real tech savvy, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And that's why when I first came in today, you couldn't see my comments. I went out and I refreshed my Google account manager. And I had to go to my actual page, refresh, and then I was able to come in and see stuff. But I don't, like I said, because I'm not a
you have to go into your studio.
Oh,
That's where you have to go. 'Cause I can't see you.
I'm a tech dummy. I'm glad you told me that.
I can't see you on my page on Miss Ryder.
Okay.
I see
and that's
you
what I was.
2.0.
Okay. See, that's what and then see, and I'm subbed on. That's what it is. See, and like I said, I'm a tech dummy. My grandbabies, my 12 and 13-year-old, I promise you, they be teaching me everything that I know about cell phones and computers. But see, that's one of the advantages too in the generations. These kids, they learn this stuff from first grade on up.
Yeah.
We didn't have computers. The only computers that was in school when I was in high school was in the business office. No, we didn't have a computer class. I'm an old head. I'm 55. I'm 80. I graduated at 85. We didn't have the only computers that were in our schools were in the principal's office that the secretaries used. We didn't have a computer lab where this hour we go down and we got. There was no PCs for people in school. That's what I'm saying. It's definitely if you don't bridge that generational gap, bro, you're gonna be lost. That's why I said I appreciate the youngins.
In Texas, they give all the kids tablets.
My grandbabies, exactly. My kids, they went to school, and my kids are 30 now. All my kids are 30. My baby's 30, 31, and 34. So they're all right there. But they even when my niece, when she enrolled in college, she just graduated last year. It's like I'm in elementary school, and I'm thinking, I told my daughter, she came home, and I'm upset because she's like, Dad, I don't know where I lost my tablet. Don't get mad, but I lost my tablet. And I need to get another one because that's how we do our homework. I say, first of all, when did y'all stop having books? I didn't realize for a couple of years while they were in high school that they didn't have books. So I said, well, listen, I don't have no, because again, now you got to remember my daughter graduated 05. So I'm like, yo, I don't have, because at the time we thinking computers, $300-400. I was like, girl, I don't have no $300-400 to be paying for no new computer. And she was like, Dad, relax. First of all, it's not a computer, it's a tablet. All you have to pay is $25. That's the little deductible for the insurance, and I'll get another one. So I said, what? $25? I had no idea. And so now, like I said, so that's what really makes me feel old when shit like that. Like even like I said, my 12 and 13-year-old pop, I got to get my tablet. They got their own individual tablets.
They even got MacBook bags, okay?
Right. When I found out, this is when I really found out that every single student, 2 years ago, I had to go to 3 pawn shops and I had to get back 160 computers and tablets that the kids' parents had pawned. Because when the recession hit, and I mean, not the recession, we were still in the recession, but when COVID hit, a lot of parents resorted to pawning their kids' stuff. And it was so many missing that they called me and said, Kev, can you find out, because I know you have relationships with all these, find out why they keep losing all of these tablets, and I'm like, okay. So I started talking. Then I found out the parents were pawning them. I went to the pawn shop and was able to get them back for the school district, basically. But they were, by the time they had already gotten new, and so the windows were updated and all. So they were like, well, we don't really need them, but I guess we can maybe send them back to Microsoft and they can refurbish them, or they'll give us credit for them or whatever. But they ended up giving them to me. That's the computers that sit in my nonprofit now. Wow. Because by the time they had gotten new ones and all that, and by the time I recovered them from the pawn shop, which was only like 4 or 5, 6 months later, Windows had just came out, I think with the 9 or the 10, whatever version. And so they were like, well, they're kind of, I don't know. So they gave them to me. And I was able to put 30 something computers, not only in the nonprofit, but then I was able to also give the mentees tablets also that. So again, those are the kind of things, but just simply by me figuring out like, oh shit, I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing about computers. I feel dumb as hell when I'm on a computer, but that's what my youngins is for. And then when they need a few jewels and some old head knowledge, they come to me and say, talk that shit, OG. You be on that shit, man. Talk that shit, man. I like that shit. So that's but anyway, I'm gonna quit running my mouth because now I'm 15 minutes late, 2 hours later, 25 minutes later. I was thinking about. But salute to all y'all, and Miss Ryder.
We'll see you later. Thank you
on your next pod. Okay.
Thank you.
Peace, y'all. Peace. Yeah,
so you guys got some education today. Some education today, I wanted to finish up another couple of verses of this StreamYard. I wanted to finish up a couple of more verses of the StreamYard of the conversation that Alien Blood, who is afraid to come up and talk about. Yeah, he's afraid. Yeah, he's afraid to come up and talk about it. Okay, all right, here we go.
They'll tell you that. Even the people that wrote the books about the ancient Egyptians, they'll tell you that it's largely speculation. So I don't know what you're basing your information on, bro, or why you feel it's so important to know history that's 2 million years old that you don't even know is true or not. I know my history, at least for the last 200 years, is absolutely 100% fact, and it's provable. Huh? You can't tell me where one of your ancestors passed your great-grandfather is buried, can you? And you know, most of you dudes out here that get on this, you know, this religious spiritual kick, you know, a lot of y'all didn't have fathers. That's why y'all look to babas and master teachers and all these other motherfucking people who are just as uneducated as you to teach you something. But when you have actual real live men in your life that are educated, that are smart, that are worldly, that are traveled, you can get direct knowledge from them. The shit you believe in is something somebody else told you, period. Everything you believe is something somebody else told you. What I believe is what I was taught directly to me. We can go from there. Like I said, whenever you get ready, bro, I promise you. I could work a double shift that day. I promise you I'll take off some time to come and whoop that ass real quick and embarrass you and humiliate you
with words
on a public platform since you chose to call me out that way. I don't know you, dude. I don't have nothing personal against you. I don't hate you. If you was in need of help, you're a black man, I would help you off the muscle just because you're a black man. Even as ignorant as you are, I would still help you because that's how I'm built. No Egyptians taught me that. No writings on the pyramid wall taught me that. The three men that I told you, the generations I can trace, they taught me that. Not no Pharaoh, not no, you know, Yakub and Shem and Ham and all these, and the Anunnaki and all, none of them taught me that, bro. And if you think you can communicate with your ancestors, prove it to me. I can communicate with mine. I can prove it to you right online. I can pick up the phone. I can call a 90-some-year-old man, a 70-some-year-old man to tell you, to validate what I say. You can't prove nothing you say. You going by what somebody else told you. You have no idea whether it's true or not. I only believe things that I can prove. Period. So whatever your educational background or whatever your spiritual beliefs are based on, bring them up and let's have a conversation, my man. But don't ever come sideways to me like that. You're not built like that. You're not equipped mentally, intellectually to come to me with some pseudo motherfucking science that you believe in, talking about fucking people 2 million years ago. That to me, that's goofy to me. That's goofy to me. How can you possibly prove anything that happened 2 million years ago, bro? Not even people who discovered the pyramids can tell you how they got there, how long they've been there, or how long this planet has existed. But I can tell you how long my lineage has existed. I can tell you that factually. I can tell you geographically where I'm from. We all may be from Africa originally at some point, but tell me what part of Africa you're from. Tell me what tribe you're a part of. Huh? Tell me what tribe you're from in Africa and tell me what region, and then tell me how you would be able to go back and prove that. Do they have records of your birth in Africa? 2 million, whenever you were born? Do they have those records and say that this is your bloodline? See, I can do that though. I can go where I was born. And I can tell you every single person who belongs to my tribe, sir, to this day.
Okay, and on that note, I wanted to finish that little quote that you guys just heard, because that's what I want you guys to try to understand. We don't have to go back millions and millions and thousands of years. We have to pass the knowledge that we have on within the 5 generations that we have. We have the grandbabies are gonna know, the children is gonna know, the grandmother, the mother is gonna know, the great great grandmother, and the great 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 grandmother. You know, ask your mom questions. A lot of us, I'm not included, but quite a few of us don't have their moms around anymore. Ask your aunties, ask your uncles, ask them about how it was growing up. Ask them how it was with their mother, you know, because we can't trace all the way back like that. We only can trace what we can do today for those that we have that are living, because we all are going to pass away. We all are going to go wherever we go, in whatever afterlife, or in the dirt, or on somebody's fireplace. But when we leave, we should not leave with what we know. We should tell our families, tell our children, tell our grandchildren, teach them what we know about their family, and they will remember that. They will remember that. Me, my mom is still here. My grandma's not here anymore, but I absorbed a lot of information from my grandma, because my grandma taught me about her mother and her grandma. Okay? So, them two taught me. My mom taught me. Me being a mom, going to teach my sons, so my sons can teach their sons. Yeah, we're a family of boys. There ain't no girls in my family, in my children line. Yes, we can play games and have fun with our kids, and but we got to teach them. We have to teach them. We have to teach them our history. We have to give them some knowledge, because what they're learning today, we don't want our children to just work, 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 and have nothing to show for it. We want them to work, to be proud of what they have, and to become their own bosses, to become their own entrepreneurs. They will. They will. And the only way they can grasp that kind of education is through us. With the whole tapping. Excuse me. But as I was saying, so I want to thank everybody that showed up today. I want to thank everybody for their comments today. I want to thank my 2 co-hosts, aka Root Words, the King Kev. King Kev. I want to thank all you guys. I want to thank Sugar Love for allowing me to use some of her footage. I want to thank all my mods. I want to thank all my visitors that came in. If you take something away from this, I'm happy. I'm happy. If you take anything, the smallest thing away. But to be true to yourself, and share your knowledge to your family, to your children. You may not have any children. Share it to your nieces, nephews. I don't know how my aunts was before me. I know how they was with me. So, I want to thank you all, you guys, for coming. Yep. And the slap of the day goes to Alien. He want to pop all that stuff and didn't want to come up. But we had a great build. And I look forward to building with you guys again. Thank you very much. I love you all, my BK Riders. I'll see you guys later on. If Sugar Love comes up, we'll be over there on the love train. Okay, you guys. Peace and have a nice day. See you tomorrow. Bye.